Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about Naruto gain the Shadow Clone before graduation part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. Everyone was excited. And why shouldn't they be? They were finally going to learn the clone Jutsu. Sorry all you Japanese fans, while I may add some Japanese, mainly some honorifics, I'm sticking to English just simply due to the fact that my Japanese literally sucks. Mizuki and Irika had just gone over how to perform the Jutsu and everyone was seemingly getting the hang of it relatively quickly, that is everyone except one particular orange-clad blonde. Ha! Look at that loser! He can't even get it to stand up! Shouted one particularly mean-spirited student who took great pleasure at Naruto's continuous failed attempts to do the simple Jutsu. Mizuki thought, wonder if it's cause of that fox in him, maybe. Hey Irika. Yeah? Came the response. Think maybe Naruto has too much chakra? I mean, he always is the one with the most stamina. You know, that would explain it, Irika said. So why not take it up a notch? Mizuki asked with a grin. Irika got the same grin and said why not? Hey Naruto! Try this instead. And proceeded to show Naruto how to do the Shadow Clone Jutsu. To say that Naruto was ecstatic that he could actually do this Jutsu was an understatement. Then Mizuki, being the good teacher he is, took it even further by explaining to Naruto about the learning ability of shadow clones. To prove his point, Mizuki made a shadow clone of his own and took the clone Naruto made out of earshot around the building and proceeded to tell him of a very good idea for a prank. It was no secret in this village that he liked the kid's style of making people laugh. After punching the blonde's clone to dispel it, and dispelling itself, the real Naruto automatically got a gleam in his eye and said never thought of that thanks. Mizuki just grinned while the rest could only wonder what madness would soon be unleashed. Mizuki then took Naruto to see how many he could do, but stopped him at 200. Dang Naruto! You're a real monster when it comes to chakra. Though given the fact what he suppresses each day it's no surprise. Let's go back. Okay. The two went back to the rest of the class who was done and Irika asked the one question that started all of the sheer badass action in the coming years. So how did it go? Naruto? Mizuki asked. Yeah? Show them. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Instantly every student's mouth was at their lowest limit as literally hundreds of Narutos appeared all around them. Well, guess that answers that question, Irika said, not believing the sheer size of the kid's chakra reserves if he could pull this off. Yeah, Mizuki said, hey Naruto, send your clones to the library and start learning anything you can find. It'll be a good way to help you with your grades. Oh, how right he was. Naruto, have your clones go to the library and start reading everything they can. It'll definitely help your grades, Mizuki said. This one statement is probably the one thing that truly set Naruto up for what he would soon become. While Naruto sent his clones to the library, he and the rest of the students went back inside and started to have their history lesson. However, not 1 hour into the lesson, Naruto just suddenly got the deer in the headlights look and proceeded to introduce his face to the desk he was sitting at. Oh, Irika-sensei. Naruto just kicked the bucket. Amongst cheers following this student's statements, both Irika and Mizuki just sighed while Mizuki said, I thought I told him not to dispel them all at once. Oh well. /. Irika instantly used his trademark big head Jutsu to get the students to calm down and proceeded to tell the kids the drawbacks of the Shadow Clone Jutsu. But unknown to everyone else, it wasn't just information overload that caused Naruto's blackout. Naruto's mindscape. Kyuubi's cage, SP? Where am I? Naruto asked, looking around. He was in what appeared to be some kind of sewer in front of a great gate that seemed to be kept closed with a sheet of paper with the kanji for CO written on it. Ah, so my landlord has finally come to check on his tenant, eh? A voice that sounded both extremely amused and yet terribly sad at once came from the direction of the gate. Who said that? Naruto asked, just a little bit nervous. And seriously, who can blame the kid? That voice sounded like it came from a giant. Little by little, a great shape appeared behind the gates. It looked to be as tall as the Hokage mountain, maybe even bigger, was red in color, and appeared to be a fox with instead not one tail, but 9 swishing around in graceful arcs. Upon seeing the tails, Naruto had one thought. Oh crap, his actual reaction, however, was much more bold. You! What are you doing here? And for that matter, where the heck is here anyway? The great fox just sighed, and said, Naruto, to answer your questions, this is your mindscape, or your inner mind. As for why I am here, Your father sealed me in here when I attacked your village. Naruto was not happy to hear this. So you're the reason why I'm treated like dirt? Wait, did you say my father? I thought the fourth dash? Naruto's eyes suddenly went bug-eyed and he almost had a heart attack from sheer excitement. Luckily, the fox saw this and said, "Focus, Naruto. And let me explain what happened." Naruto instantly grew quite at the fox's tone. Much better, now let me explain. Yes, your father was the fourth Hokage for this village. However, unlike what the village believes, I did not want to destroy the village back then. Then what were you doing here? I'm getting to that. You see, on that day, I was in my den with my mate and kit. This man, Orochimaru, decided to have the nerve to show up and ask for the way to become immortal. I immediately told him to leave since he was foolish to even think that I would share how I was immortal. He left, but not before slaying my mate, who was still relatively weak from giving birth last year, and my kit, who had yet to obtain the strength to become immortal. In a rage, I went to the Hidden Leaf village to get information on this man since he had worn the village's symbol. I was only going to ask for the man not go on a rampage when I ran into another man, one Madara Uchiha. This man was able to put me under a very strong gin just due to the fact that I was so angry. He then proceeded to order me to attack the village, which I had no choice to do. So you see, Naruto, I had no intention of attacking your village and I truly am sorry for the pain I have caused you. People have said that this explanation is lame, and in truth it may be. However, it does move the story along. After saying this, Kyuubi lowered his head so that he could be as close to Naruto's eye level as possible. He then took a slight breath, ruffling Naruto's hair in the process, and continued. In order to make it up to you, I am willing to become your teacher. Those two from the academy are capable enough. However, they have a whole class to teach. There is also the fact that I can help you a lot with knowledge on Jutsu and chakra control, which, believe me, due to the vast amounts of chakra you have, is a must. I can also give you a summoning contract and access to some of my own chakra. However, if you are going to use it, we must train you so that you can handle it without going on a rampage in the process of tapping into it. To say that Naruto was impressed is an understatement. So what do I have to do? He asked. First, wake up, your teachers are probably worried. When you do, tell them that your roommate talked to you and that you need to have a word with the Hokage. Why not just say I had a conversation with you? And spook the entire class? Good point. Better get going. Back in the classroom. It had been roughly 30 minutes in the outside world when suddenly a light groan could be heard coming from Naruto's spot. Both Mizuki and Iruka were surprised that Naruto had woken up so early, and proceeded, I like that word, don't I, to tell him so. Naruto, you're awake? I would have thought you would have been out till morning at least. Yeah, well, I had a little chat with my roommate. Seems I need to talk with the Hokage after school lets out. Iruka and Mizuki shared a worried glance. Did you just say roommate? Iruka asked, getting nervous. Yes. Naruto replied, doing his absolute best to keep a cool face while on the inside his mind was going all over the place thinking about what the fox had said. Hey sensei. What's the dobe talking about? That doesn't concern you. Naruto, when as soon as class is over, Iruka and I will take you to the Hokage. Yes, Mizuki-sensei. The Hokage was working in his office, doing the bane of all Hokages paperwork. Old joke, I know. When he heard a knocking at the door, he was glad for the interruption. Come in. In walked Naruto, Iruka, and Mizuki, all with serious faces. Oh boy, what did he do this time? The Hokage thought. All right, what did Naruto here do this time? It's not what he did, Hokage-sama, it's what he found out, Iruka said, never once losing that serious face. Oh, Sarutobi thought, this cannot be good. Found out? The old man asked with a raised eyebrow. Sigh, old man, I found about the Kyuubi and who my parents were. The big guy wants to have a word with you inside my mindscape, I think he called it. To say that the Hokage was shocked was an understatement. He had of course planned on telling Naruto about the fox and his parents for sure, but not for around another decade. He was debating whether or not to have Naruto's seal checked to see if it was breaking, but first decided to see what that damned fox wanted. Very well then, Naruto. Iruka, Mizuki, as his teachers and the ones he told you about this, I want you to come as well. Very well, Hokage-sama, Mizuki said, trying to hide his nervousness. After all, they were going to meet with the one creature that was hell-bent on destroying the village around 8 years ago. The Hokage walked over to Naruto and kneeled down to his eye level and placed his hand on Naruto's head. Iruka and Mizuki placed theirs over their leaders. For a brief moment, nothing happened. Then the four's eyes flickered and closed, signifying that they were now in Naruto's mindscape. Naruto's mindscape. The three adults found themselves looking around the mindscape in varying states of confusion. They knew that the mindscape was defined by the person's outlook, but it was also usually along more cheerful places, such as a palace, or a grove of sakura trees. This, though, looked like it was more of a cross between a sewer and a bunker than a place to find inner peace. All three had similar thoughts when they saw this place. My God, what could have made Naruto come up with this place? Iruka thought, noticing a set of pipes running along the walls out the doorway. Wonder why his mind set it up like this. Looks almost like a bunker to go in when an army is coming for you. Mizuki thought, then looking at the boy, realized that just might be exactly why it was like this. The third Hokage was the most shocked of the three. Naruto is normally extremely happy and so full of energy. Is this really what he feels like most of the time? Naruto wasn't that surprised, considering he didn't know about how a mindscape normally looks like or how it reflected what was truly going on in his mind. He was more interested in the cage where the giant fox was looking out at the group. Ah, so you finally came. The three adults spun around, looked at the fox's feet, and slowly raised their heads to see the fox beginning to grin at all of them. Needless to say, all three were getting extremely nervous, even if on a subconscious level, for the Hokage. While he had absolute faith in Minato's sealing skills, the fact that the fox had talked to Naruto so soon concerned him. The two teachers were much more nervous, considering they were in front of the creature that did its best to wipe the hidden leaf village of the map. Yes, we came. Naruto said that you wished to speak to me, Sarutobi said, wondering just what this was about exactly. That is correct. You see, I would like to teach the young kid here a few things. Oh, and why, might I ask, would a 100-foot-tall demon fox want to train a small 8-year-old boy? The old man asked, getting ready to get them all out of there as fast as he could if things turned sour. The great demon lord sighed, because it is my fault for why those idiots you have sworn to protect are constantly abusing the child. If I had been in more control of my emotions, this never would have happened. Besides, I have grown quite fond of the kid. Iruka and Mizuki were watching this, trying to figure out what the fox meant by emotions and teaching, when Sarutobi spoke again. What do you mean by more control of emotions? And how do I know you won't use this as a means to escape? The fox just laughed, and then said, trust me, old man, if I wanted to, I could have escaped any time I wanted to. Your predecessor was aware of what was going on that night, or at least on a small level. Therefore he made it so that I could interact with the kid a lot easier than most so-called tailed beasts with their containers. As for the emotions, well, why don't I give a demonstration first before I explain? Right after he said that, Kyubi no Kitsune, demon lord of the foxes, did two things that would forever shock the four humans. Right off the bat, he started shrinking at a tremendous rate, quickly turning from a 100-foot-tall fox into one closer to the height of the Hokage's waist. But it didn't stop there. While the fox kept shrinking, it started to turn into a human as well. One that was just as tall as Sarutobi, and looking just as old. Think the manifestation form of Ichigo's sword in Bleach, only no wrapping over either of the eyes. But this wasn't the only thing that shocked the group. Right after he finished changing, red chakra suddenly shot out of his body and started to form a very large cloud towards the back of the cage. After it left, the man stepped straight through the bars, causing all three of the men to get in front of Naruto, keeping him behind them. Don't worry, your Hokage definitely knew his seals. He made it so that either my chakra or my human form could go through the seal, but not both at the same time. The adults didn't know what to think. Not only did the fox just turn into a human, but he just walked straight through the seal without a single problem. Naruto was just as surprised. Cool. How come you didn't do that the first time? He asked. The fox knelt down, getting closer to Naruto's level. Chuckles, because there was no reason to, Kit. A moment later, the Hokage was finally able to get over his initial shock of how the demon was able to leave the cage like that. You said you were going to explain about that night? The demon nodded and proceeded to explain how Orochimaru had come to his cave and demanded to know how to become immortal, and afterwards how he killed his family. How afterwards he followed him to get revenge, and finally how he ended up getting trapped in Madara Uchiha's Genjutsu. It took a while for the Hokage to absorb all this and to fully trust the demon lord, but eventually agreed to let the fox train Naruto. The key factor was the fact that the old man could tell that the fox saw the kid as his own, in spirit if not blood. After hammering out all the details, the four left the mindscape with a lot to think about. Hokage's office. For a moment, the office remained completely silent until at once all four occupants snapped their eyes open and took a big breath almost exactly together. The Hokage, just like with their meeting a few moments ago, was the first to speak. Well, Naruto, looks like you're going to have your hands full for the next few years. Yeah. Naruto was thinking about what had happened inside the one area that most people do not want people at, their minds. Mizuki, guessing at what the young blonde was thinking about, decided to get the kid's mind back to the outside world. Come on, Naruto, let's get something to eat at Ichiraku's. If that don't get him, nothing will. Okay. Well, it's better than nothing, Mizuki thought. Hey Iruka, I still want to see how many clones Naruto can make. Considering that he is probably going to be learning a lot from now on, it would be a good idea to see how many he's capable of. He can have a shadow clone in class so that way he doesn't miss anything. Sounds good to me. Just try not to overdo it with him, Iruka said, thinking that if he knew anything about Naruto, then Mizuki would be in for quite a day tomorrow. Don't worry, I won't. With that, the meeting was pretty much over, and Naruto, Mizuki, and Iruka left. The next day, Forest of Death. Mizuki had gone to Naruto's apartment early the next morning in order to make sure he remembered about the test of how many clones he could make. Naruto was at first a little groggy but soon woke up, and upon leaving, sent a shadow clone to the academy to make sure he didn't miss anything from Iruka's class. Afterwards, the student and teacher pair went to the one place that Mizuki knew they would not be interrupted. The Forest of Death. Alright Naruto, let's see how many we can get. I know you can get at least 200, so let's start there, and then start adding to the number. Naruto nodded, and put his hand into the proper hand sign and said Shadow Clone Jutsu. The pair were instantly surrounded by 200 clones. Mizuki nodded and then continued. Alright Naruto, let's get started. Here's what I want you to do, you're going to be doing a sort of breathing exercise. I want you to breathe out as much as you can, then inhale as much as you can. Each time you do a cycle of this, I want you to create 50 clones until you feel like you can't keep making them. Think you can do that? Naruto nodded and started doing the exercise and creating clones in between each breath. It wasn't long until the 200 clones quickly turned into 2,000. Mizuki put a stop to it when it quickly became apparent that Naruto would have no trouble if he got in a fight due to the fact that he obviously could call on a virtual army whenever he need to. Mizuki then had Naruto start dispelling the clones in groups of increasing number to get him used to the effects. When the first batch of clones dispersed, one particular clone a few miles away had one thing to say. Academy, Iruka's classroom. Holy shit. Naruto. I do not see how us learning about the history of this village requires that language. Would you mind telling us what does? Mizuki asked with a vein throbbing on his forehead. The clone just shook his head and said, Boss just summoned somewhere around 2,000 clones. The entire class was stunned at this. Iruka was the first to get over his shock and said, well, at least he won't have any trouble in fights. He'll just overwhelm them with sheer numbers. Back in the Forest of Death. It took a while, but soon Naruto only had around 20 clones left around him and Mizuki. Alright Naruto, it's time to get serious. Up until now, we were just seeing how many clones you could make and getting you used to the information they send. While it's true that them just standing around isn't much info to get back, it is information nonetheless and on a very big scale as well due to numbers. What we are going to do now is a more conservative method of using them. I'm going to explain the tree climbing exercise to you, and you'll have half of your clones work on that. After that, I'm going to go over some taijutsu with the rest, and they'll work on that. As for you yourself, we'll be working on your physical self with some exercises since clones don't transfer physical developments. Naruto nodded and with that, the student-teacher pair quickly got to work. Naruto and Mizuki spent most of the day doing laps along the fence surrounding the forest, stopping only for short resting breaks and lunch. They did not stop until Naruto suddenly got memories from the clones sent to the academy showing that the academy was over for the day and that the clone had dispelled itself. When that happened, Mizuki told Naruto to dispel the rest of his clones one at a time, doing the same to dispel them as he did to bring them out using the breathing exercise. Naruto was glad he took Mizuki's advice since because the clones had been going at it non-stop, they had a lot of information to be downloaded. Mizuki assured Naruto that over time he would be able to absorb more at a lot faster pace. After that day for the rest of his academy years, Naruto would always send a clone to the academy so that he could get in more physical training while he had more clones constantly working on just knowledge and chakra control. But it wasn't just training in the outside world that Naruto did, but also inner mind training as well. Every weekend, when the academy wasn't in session, Naruto would be in his inner mind almost constantly being taught by the Kyuubi. It wasn't long before the fox gave Naruto the summoning contract and had him introduced to most of the foxes, even going to the point where he was reverse summoned to the mountain where the foxes lived for a whole summer to be able to get to know all of the foxes better so that way he could work with them effortlessly. 1 year later, and Naruto was one of the strongest ninja ranked Chunin and below. Not only was his chakra control one of the best out there, but due to all of the training he was able to do thanks to having a clone substitute for him in the classes, he was physically the strongest out of his class. And it didn't stop there. With the knowledge of his father's nickname, Naruto not only focused on strength, but speed as well. Although this wasn't a good thing for everyone. You see, Naruto still had a tendency for pranks, and although his shadow clones made everything virtually possible for him to do while pranking, he would usually take part in it himself. Once the population became aware of what he would do, people would always chase him, but he would usually be able to outrun and outhide everyone. Well, everyone except Iruka, but Naruto really allowed Iruka to catch him. Mizuki of course knew this and at one point asked Naruto why he actually allowed himself to be caught by his other teacher. Naruto's only reply was that it allowed Iruka to gain more control over the rest of the class due to the fact that it gave Iruka the reputation of the ultimate rule enforcer. Mizuki could only shake his head at this while chuckling. As for Mizuki, he tended to keep giving Naruto subtle hints at pranking ideas much to everyone else's chagrin, and soon he and Naruto were on just as good terms as Naruto and Iruka were. When it came time for the final exams, absolutely no one in the class had any doubts about how Naruto would do. The academy, day of the final exams. All of the students were in the classroom going about their normal business, which in their case was mostly talking with their classmates. The main topic of the day was about the exams and how well they were going to do. Some decided not to join in, such as Niji, Lee, Ten, who were busy figuring out who their sensei was. Lee had some idea and was hoping that he was right. Another person who didn't join in on any conversations was Naruto, who was thinking about who he would be teamed up with when the exam was over. He had a pretty good idea since there had been 2 people in the last couple of years who he was able to get along with marginally well. They were Mato and Hiza. Mato and Hiza were a couple of students who, like Naruto, didn't like how people would form ideas about people without getting all the facts. Both also put their studies first, which Naruto really appreciated since in his opinion, those who became ninjas just impress someone was not worth the time and effort it took to train them. If there was one thing Naruto could not stand, it was fangirls/boys. Mato and Hiza were also 2 of the few people who could work well with Naruto since they did their best to get to know the blonde, and the 2 would sometimes join him after the academy sessions were over to train, which led them to become good friends. This showed when they took teamwork tests together, ending with that group getting one of the highest scores, second only to Niji, Lee, and Ten in that department. Soon, both Mizuki and Iruka came in through the door and proceeded to try and get the class to quiet down. After about 15 seconds, Iruka got fed up waiting and decided to use his favorite Jutsu to get their attention, his patented big head Jutsu. Shut up and pay attention. Needless to say, everyone did what they were told while Mizuki and Naruto shared a glance and both chuckled. Iruka then went on to explain how the final exam would be set up into 3 parts. First would be written, the second would be physical, which would include an obstacle course, a target test, and a straight-out taijutsu spar. The third part would cover the ninjutsu that the students had learned while at the academy. Most of the students groaned when they heard the first thing they would be doing was taking a written test. Needless to say, the one person who didn't complain was Naruto, who by this time had read practically every book he could get his hands on, not only in the shinobi library but also the civilian one as well. So it was no surprise to anyone when less than 10 minutes later Naruto put his pencil down and proceeded to take a quick nap while he waited for the rest of the class. The second part of the test was also easy for Naruto. Thanks to his ability to make shadow clones, Naruto was able to put in a large number of hours each day to do physical training while a shadow clone attended the academy. This showed when Naruto got the best score for the obstacle course. The same was true for the target test. Naruto was able to get a near-perfect score of 94 on that test. The only one to beat him on that test was Ten with a perfect score, but no one was surprised at that. The only part of the test that gave him any real problems was the taijutsu test, where the students had to go against one of the teachers for a full 5 minutes. Naruto got the honor of facing Mizuki, who, having taught Naruto for the majority of the past couple of years, decided to make things interesting. While with the rest of the class fought the teachers with them only fighting defensively, Mizuki took it up a notch and proceeded to go at Naruto for a good 10 minutes. That fight had looked to the rest of the class like the 4th Shinobi War was going on. Mizuki showed the class why he was high Chunin level when Naruto had at one point somewhere around 50 clones going against Mizuki, who proceeded to demolish the force and go straight after Naruto, forcing him to dodge in ways most of the class thought impossible. That is not to say that Naruto did not get in some hits of his own. Due to his training with the fox and his unpredictable nature, Naruto was able to get in a good number of punches and kicks on Mizuki when he wasn't expecting him to do certain things. Although what amazed everyone in the class except Iruka was the fact that throughout the entire fight, both Mizuki and Naruto were grinning at each other. Iruka finally had enough with the two and ended up knocking the two outside their heads to get them to stop. You were only supposed to go 5 minutes. And you, Mizuki, were only supposed to fight defensively, not act like you were going to kill him. While Mizuki and Naruto were rubbing their heads, Mizuki tried to defend himself. "Oh, come on, Iruka. If you had trained this kid like I had for 2 years, you wouldn't want to have a boring match with him either." Besides, Naruto didn't seem to mind. Naruto decided to give his 2 cents as well. "Yeah, come on, Iruka-sensei, it's not like we were going at each other with intent to kill." This shocked the whole class, who to them looked like that was exactly what those two were doing. Iruka could only look at the two before sighing, shake his head, and had the rest of the class take the test. He made sure that no one else fought Mizuki if he knew they were good at taijutsu, much to Mizuki's disappointment. After all of the spars took place, the teachers gave the students an hour for lunch before taking the final part of the exam. During that time, Mado and Hiza got together with Naruto discussing how they did on the first 2 parts of the test, and who they thought would be put into teams together. One thing all 3 agreed on was that Lee, Ten, and Niji would most likely be put on a team together, and that they had a very good chance of being on the same team as well. Soon it was time to go back in for the final test. Back inside, Iruka explained that the 3rd test would include trying to break out of a genjutsu, as well as displaying sufficient mastery of the 3 Academy justice. To everyone's relief, Iruka explained that due to how not everyone was built for genjutsu, that although you did have to try, if you failed to try and break the genjutsu, it would not lower your overall scores. Naruto, although was one of the worst at them when it came to creating and detecting them, felt that he had a fairly decent chance at breaking one since the teachers would most likely be using a low-level one, and also there was the fact that he would know when he was put in one. One by one, the students went into a separate room where the teachers would test them. While each student came out with a forehead protector, Naruto, who had become quite good at reading body language, noted some of them were more relieved than others. He just figured that they had hit a few snags with 1 or 2 of the justice, but the teachers gave them points for trying and told them to keep working at them. That or they just didn't do good on that written test, he thought. Though you can't really blame them on that count. Some of those questions were a bit hard. Naruto was pleased to note that Mado and Hiza did not seem to have any problems when they came out. Both nodded to him when they came out before they sat down at their seats. Soon after it was his turn. "Naruto Uzumaki, your turn," he heard from the other room. Getting up from his seat, he calmly walked into the room to see both teachers sitting behind a desk in a room with a potted plant in a corner. Iruka was the one to start things off. "Alright, Naruto, like I said before, you need to break out of a genjutsu, and prove that you can do the 3 Academy justice reasonably well. And before you ask, I know you have problems with regular clones but are good at shadow clones. This is just a formality, so just create 1 shadow clone when you do that part. Now what do you want to do first?" Naruto nodded at Iruka's explanation and decided to get the genjutsu test over since that was his worst ability. Just as Naruto thought, since he knew he would be put into a genjutsu, he was able to break out fairly easily. As soon as it started, he noticed his surroundings blurred into his favorite ramen stand. To Naruto's horror, however, the stand immediately burst into flame. It took Naruto a full minute to remember that it was only an illusion, and quickly ended the torture by disrupting his chakra flow. As soon as the illusion was gone, he shot Iruka a glare while Mizuki was just looking confused. "Naruto, what did Iruka make you see? The way you were acting, I would think that you saw the utter banishment of ramen in the village." Naruto immediately went pale but quickly regained his composure and started glaring at Iruka again. He then said, "If you must know, Iruka-sensei decided to show me Ichiraku's burning to the ground." Mizuki just looked at Naruto for a second, then turned to his friend and said, "Now Iruka, I know that Naruto hasn't always the best thing for your health, but isn't that taking things a little too far?" Iruka could only chuckle a little while sweat dropping a little at the combined stares of the other 2 occupants in the room. "I figured it would be a good motivator to break the jutsu," he said, looking at Naruto like he was a tiger about to pounce. Mizuki smirked and said, "Well, congratulations. You definitely got him motivated. Alright, Naruto, let's get back to the test. You can worry about how to get back at Iruka later." Naruto got an evil gleam to his eye when Mizuki talked about getting even with Iruka, which said teacher did not like one bit. "I am so screwed. I don't even want to think about what that kid might do to me, and I bet $100 that Mizuki plans on helping him." Naruto nodded to Mizuki and said, "Sure thing, Mizuki-sensei." Naruto proceeded to henge into the Hokage before replacing himself with the potted plant. After that, it was simply just a formality when Naruto formed the familiar cross sign and said Shadow Clone Jutsu and had one appeared. Mizuki and Iruka congratulated Naruto on a job well done and told him to get a headband, which he gladly did and replaced the goggles he was wearing with his. Walking out, he nodded to his two friends, which they returned before he went back to his seat. As soon as he got to his seat, Mizuki and Iruka came back in and Iruka started a speech about how they were now full-fledged ninja now and what missions to expect. During this whole time, Iruka not once would look directly at Naruto, which he and Mizuki thought was hilarious, with the rest of the class wondering just what exactly happened in there. Iruka finished up telling the class that they had the rest of the week off and to be back at 7 a.m. on Monday to meet their teachers. After that, everyone filed out of the classroom, until only Naruto and the teachers were there. Mizuki and Iruka decided to treat Naruto to Ichirakus to congratulate him on a job well done. And although Naruto would never admit it, he was glad for an excuse to go make sure that his favorite restaurant hadn't burned to the ground. While they were there, Iruka was talking about how Naruto's shadow clones would continue to give Naruto an advantage over his classmates, especially when it came to the dreaded D-rank missions. You know, Naruto, you're lucky that you have shadow clones. They will be a big help when you start doing those D-ranks. Really? Why is that, Iruka-sensei? I thought you guys had said that they were just minor chores like painting a fence or walking dogs. Small things like that. Mizuki saw where his friend was getting at and decided to answer for him. That's true, Naruto, but think about it. With your ability to make so many clones, it will take practically no time to paint a fence if you have 50 or more clones working at the same time. Naruto instantly saw where Mizuki was coming from and nodded, showing how he understood. The rest of the evening was spent making small talk until Iruka had to leave, saying that he had to get all of the student reports ready for the Jounin team leaders and Hokage to go over. Mizuki decided with Iruka gone, now was the best time for him to give Naruto one final idea for a prank. Particularly a prank against one Chunin with a scar over his nose. Leaning over, he began whispering to Naruto, who once he started to hear, couldn't help a smirk start to form. By the end of it, he was trying, and failing, not to laugh. After a moment he fell off his stool onto the floor holding on to his stomach, he was laughing so hard. The owner's daughter, could only wonder what one of Naruto's teachers had suggested he do, and hope that the victim wouldn't be in too bad a shape afterwards. It was roughly an hour later when Iruka finally got back to his apartment. Turning the key in the lock, Iruka was prepared for a prank such as a pressure-triggered eraser catapult, or swinging paint bomb on a rope. But sadly, this was not to be. When he opened his door, he immediately jumped back, thinking one of those two things would happen. When neither did, he started to think that Naruto might try something tomorrow and slowly went into his house. However, as soon as he got halfway through his living room, he started to feel real nervous, and thinking it would probably be better to play it safe and spend the night at a hotel and get Umbu to help him in the morning, started to cautiously back out of the room, constantly searching his surroundings when all hell broke loose. All of a sudden, paintballs were launched from all angles, turning Iruka into a living tie-dye artwork piece. Thinking that that was the extent of the prank and seriously needing a shower after the barrage, Iruka went to the shower, stripped his painted clothes and got in. Unknown to him, Naruto had gone to his bathroom and with Mizuki's help had put a special dye into the pipes right before the shower head, using a special Justin normally used to phase through things such as walls. This dye was pretty much colorless until exposure to the air for at least a full minute after drying. Iruka, mercifully oblivious to the continued madness, started taking a shower, washing away whatever paint his clothes hadn't stopped from getting on him and also the dirt and grime from the rest of the day. Unfortunately, this allowed the dye to be coated all over him. When he got out of the shower, he started to towel off. While he was brushing his teeth, he was looking into his mirror and to his shock and horror, started turning completely blue from head to toe, including his hair. Naruto! Mizuki and Naruto heard this from the park bench they were sitting in, and immediately started laughing. Sounds like he just got out of the shower, Mizuki said while still laughing. Yeah, just wait till he gets to his bedroom, Naruto replied. Iruka, figuring that he would be better able to get Naruto tomorrow, decided to go into his bedroom to try to get some rest. Sadly, that would not be for when he got there. He soon discovered his whole bedroom had been painted hot pink. I am going to kill that kid. Naruto! You are so dead. Sounds like he just did, Mizuki said while grinning. Better stay low for the rest of the week, kid. Yeah, but it was definitely worth it, said Blonde replied, and headed home, waving to the one person who he knew would watch his back in the coming week. The next day, Iruka was the laughingstock whenever he walked around due to being blue from head to toe. Everyone could only wonder what the teacher had did to the Hidden Leaf's #1 prankster for him to do that. Mizuki was laughing his rear end off when he saw it, and decided that Iruka had gotten his just desserts. Well, Iruka, look at it this way. Now you know never to mess with ramen around Naruto. Iruka could just glare at Mizuki before he walked away. Hidden Leaf Village Academy, Day of Team Formation. Now, Naruto prides himself on not being stupid. Therefore, after he pulled off his Smafife prank on Iruka, he decided to hang low for the next week. When he needed groceries, he would go out in a henge just in case he came across his now blue sensei. It was quite interesting hearing how people reacted to the prank. Some were wondering how he did it. Some of the rumors stated that he was able to get Iruka to fall in a tank of blue dye. Others were just downright nutty. Everyone agreed on one thing though. Whatever Iruka did to deserve this prank, they would do well not to do the same around the blonde. It had been 1 week since Naruto's claim of dominance over any and all school teachers. When he walked through the academy, all of the teachers except Mizuki were looking at him like he was a tiger getting ready to pounce on them all. Needless to say, all of the students found this hilarious and were congratulating Naruto. Some of the students who felt like making a show of things actually bowed to him. Now, most would think this would get to Naruto's head. And to a small extent, it did. But he just took it all in stride as he made it to his classroom with one thought. Definitely worth it. Reaching his classroom, he received similar treatment, and got a couple of high fives from some of the students on his way to his seat. However, some of the students didn't really care for the blonde's actions and resulting attention. The head of this group was one Niji Hyuga. Only a failure such as yourself would go to such lengths for attention. The Hyuga spat while standing over Naruto's desk. The blonde didn't let the Hyuga get to him. He was having too good a day right now. Of course, that didn't keep the kid from replying. Failure, huh? Correct me if I'm wrong, Niji, but doesn't the two facts that I am here today and that I now have a headband mean that I am not a failure? And just be glad I don't decided to do something similar to you and possibly your whole clan for that little comment of yours. The class is suddenly quiet. Many of the students were now wondering if Naruto would do what he just said he would. You wouldn't dare, Niji said with killer intent starting to rise. Oh yeah? Watch me. Trust me, I could get into your compound and out before anyone knew what happened. And even if I do get caught, you know I can outrun anyone in this village, be it sheer speed or stamina. Or have you forgotten that only Iruka-sensei can catch me, and even he knows that I let him. The Hyuga was spared having to comment on that when Iruka came in had everyone sit down. He then looked at Naruto, and the whole class started to wonder just what would happen to their favorite prankster. A little over the top, don't you think, Naruto? Iruka asked, looking the blonde straight in the eye. I could say the same to you, Iruka-sensei. Now you know never to use such a genjutsu ever again, said blonde returned. Iruka just sighed and decided to get the show on the road. Naruto allowed his mind to wander as Iruka gave the speech he usually did to the graduating classes about being full-blown shinobis and all that. He then listened with half a mind as his teacher got through teams 1 through 6 until he perked up when he heard his name being called. Team 7 will consist of Naruto Uzumaki, Mato Herzen, made up on the fly just now and most likely never to be used again in this story, and Hizutano, again made up just now. Your Jounin sensei will be Hatake Kakashi. All 3 members were glad to be on the same team like they thought they would. However, Naruto was a little disappointed in who their sensei would be. Yes, the man knew his father. Was actually his father's student at one time. But did he have to be late to everything? They were also not surprised when the Team 9 members were called as follows. Team 9 will consist of Niji Hyuga, Ten, and Rock Lee. Your Jounin sensei will be Mate Guy. May God have mercy on your soul, Hyuga, Naruto said in the tone of someone who is about to put someone to death. This brought about some chuckles from those who did not know who Guy was, while those who did could only silently agree with him. They knew the Hyuga's sanity would be tested to the limit. Ten's would be as well, most likely. The Hyuga just looked at Naruto and asked, "Why would I need mercy, Uzumaki?" Naruto just shudders and says, "You'll find out eventually, Niji. I'll visit you in the asylum every week. I promise." Needless to say, this unnerved the Hyuga prodigy, and more than just a little bit. However, no matter how hard he tried, he could not get the blonde to explain. After Iruka finished with the team placements, he wrapped things off by saying, "You guys have an hour for break before your Jounin senseis arrive. Once again, it's been an honor having you as my students. Even if some of you did your best to give me premature gray hairs." A quick glance to Naruto, a few chuckles. "Good luck, and if you ever are need an advice, or just plain need someone to talk to, feel free to come find me. Goodbye and good luck." He then walked out of the classroom and the students started to follow. Naruto, Mato, and Hiza decided to grab a quick bite at Ichiraku's before going back into the class. While waiting, Naruto decided to work on some of his seals. He was doing this all the while they waited for the rest of their class to get back, and after everyone then left with their senseis, until it was just the three of them. After about 15 minutes, he pulled out a particular seal that both of his teammates recognized and were both probably the only ones besides the Hokage and maybe their now past teachers knew about. With a burst of controlled chakra and a poof of smoke, Naruto soon held a violin in his hands. Yes, I know. But with the ability to learn practically anything in a day, I'm making Naruto extremely musically talented in this one. Trust me, he has other instruments. He started tuning his instrument, and then began to play a soft but uplifting tune. Think the violin part from Left Hand Suzuki Method by the Gorillas. Both Mato and Hiza just let themselves relax as they listened to Naruto play one of his favorite instruments. It was to this scene that Kakashi showed up to about an hour later. Standing outside the door to the classroom with the door still closed, Kakashi listened to the music and was surprised to find that whoever was playing seemed quite good at the instrument. He was even more surprised when it turned out to be Naruto playing, though he did end up thinking that it shouldn't surprise him considering what he heard Naruto did with his ability to create armies of shadow clones. He still remembers the couple of days when he went to the shinobi libraries to check a few things and found clones all over the place just reading. Wonder if he can use Genjutsu with that? The Cyclops wondered. No, he is not another Tayuya for those wondering. Remember, he still sucks at Genjutsu. He then shakes himself back to the scene in front of him and says, glad to see at least one of you has an interesting hobby. Meet me up on the roof. He then shunshines SP to the roof. Naruto quickly seals his violin, and the three now official ninja proceed to go out the window and walk up the wall to the roof, much to Kakashi's surprised pleasure, and took seats facing him. Well, that's one thing I won't have to teach them. I can understand Sensei's son having learned how to do that since he used those clones to learn so much. I guess he taught the other two at some point. Wonder what else he taught them. Oh well, I'll find out soon enough, I'm sure. Glad to see you guys know a few tricks outside of what's taught in the academy. It shows that you actually wish to put effort into your shinobi careers. That, and it helps Naruto to do pranks that much easier, Mato said, and the three youths start chuckling, which Kakashi soon joins in. Fair enough, he replied, and then continued. Now then, why don't we go ahead and get to know each other? Say your name, what you like, what you dislike, hobbies and dreams. Hiza spoke first. Sensei, why don't you go first? After all, we pretty much know each other, but we don't know much about you. What? Did you think she was like Sakura? Sorry folks, this kunoichi actually is more than just book smart. Oh me? My name is Hatake Kakashi. I'm the kind of person who doesn't feel like talking about his likes and dislikes. My dreams for the future are none of your business, but anyway, I have lots of hobbies. If you guessed that was the manga version, you get a cookie. J. All we really got was his name, which we knew anyway. The three thought together. Gee, Sensei, you really stick to the shinobi rules on information, don't you? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. Oh, and what would they be, Naruto? Kakashi asked with a raised eyebrow as well. 1. Don't give out more than absolutely necessary. 2. Use any information to your advantage and use said info to disillusion your opponent. Even true information can be used to fool others. Well, yes, I guess you could say that. Now then, since you seem to like to talk so much, why don't you start off, Blondie? The same eyebrow rose again at the nickname, but Naruto let it drop and started. Alright, as all of you know, my name is Naruto Uzumaki. As for my likes, I like to train, sometimes with my friends, pull pranks, and just generally have fun with my friends. Oh, and the occasional meal of ramen. The other two genin snort at this. My dislikes include those who like to judge without getting their facts straight, and bullies. As for hobbies, I like to learn how to play new instruments, and am a semi-amateur gardener. Kakashi's eyebrow once again found itself raised at the word semi-amateur. I also like to read up on any new justice or just about anything else I find at the library or bookstores. For dreams, well, looks at the Hokage monument, specifically at the 4th. I want to make my parents proud of me and become Hokage someday. Definitely his father's son, Kakashi thought while listening. Alright, you next, he said while pointing at Mato. Okay. My name is Mato Herzen, and my likes are hanging out with my friends, training with Naruto and Hiza, and occasionally giving Naruto a hand with his pranks. Oh boy, Kakashi thought, I generally don't have many dislikes besides hating those who judge others and bullies. As for hobbies, I like to learn about seals. Granted, I'm nowhere Naruto's level, but I think I'm pretty good considering. As for dreams? Well, let's just say that I want to be the best I can be. Kakashi nods to himself and points to Hiza. You next. Hiza nods and starts. Alright. My name is Hiza Tano. I like training with my friends and just enjoying life in general. I dislike bullies and those who judge and think they are better than everyone just because of who their parents are. Even worse are girls who simply became ninja to impress someone. Both Mato and Naruto nod at this, which Kakashi caught and approved of. As for hobbies, I like to read and sometimes help Naruto with his little adventures, another eyebrow raised. Seriously, Kakashi should just leave it up there. As for dreams, I want to be the best I can be in this world. Kakashi nods to himself again and thinks to himself, well, I've got Sensei's son, and his two friends, all three of who seem to have their heads on straight, and are truly willing to give it their all. I'm glad Hiza isn't a fangirl. That would be a pain to deal with. Alright. From what I just heard, all three of you got your mind set in the right direction. Meet up at Training Ground 7 at 7 tomorrow morning for your Genin exam. 3, 2, 1. Sensei, I understand that this is the true exam, but do we need to do anything special for it? Hiza asked. Kakashi was pleasantly surprised that these three knew about the purpose of this exam, and simply told the three to just show up in full gear and to not have breakfast unless they wanted to lose it. He then shined away. Naruto and the others decided to head to the Akimichi barbecue restaurant to discuss possible battle formations for the exam. After an hour, they agreed that while the strategies they came up with were good ones, they would have to wait till tomorrow to know which, if any, they would have to use. They then split off to get ready in their own ways. Naruto decided it would be a good idea to have a talk with his new sensei and proceeded to look for him. He had a fairly good idea where to go as well. Memorial Stone. Kakashi was musing at the Memorial Stone, thinking about his new team. Especially about one sapphire-eyed, whiskered blonde. I won't let you down, sensei. I will make sure Naruto's dream will become a reality. Suddenly he was interrupted from his thoughts when he heard someone say behind him. I knew I would find you here, sensei. Kakashi turns around to find said blonde standing behind him with a small smile on his face. Kakashi gave his patented smile and said, Naruto. What a pleasant surprise. Was there something you want to talk about? Naruto stepped up to the monument and bowed his head for a quick moment in respect to the names carved on the stone. He then turned to Kakashi and said, well, yeah. You see, we never really got the chance to talk before, and I was wondering if you didn't mind telling me anything about my parents. Kakashi just smiled again and said, sure thing, Naruto. Why don't we go to my apartment? Naruto nods and they take off. Kakashi's apartment. When Naruto and Kakashi got to Kakashi's apartment, they started talking about Naruto's parents. They talked for a good while, discussing the kind of people they were, how Naruto's mother could be just as big a prankster as he was, and how his father always gave his all to do his best and help others. They also talked about the missions Kakashi went on with his father, including that time when they had to destroy a bridge behind enemy lines. It was 9 p.m. when Kakashi decided that Naruto should start heading home. Well, Naruto, it's getting late, so I think you should head to your apartment and get some sleep. Tomorrow is going to be a big day. Alright. Thanks for that, Kakashi. It was fun. Good night. Anytime, Naruto. Good night. With that, Naruto left back to his apartment, glad that he had gone looking for his teacher that day. Next day, Training Ground 7. The next day showed Mato and Hiza walking towards Training Ground 7, where they could hear someone playing a Native American-style flute. Think of a recorder, only longer, made out of wood, and no bell at the end. When they got there, they saw Naruto sitting in front of the middle of 3 posts that were sitting in the field. He was sitting Indian-style, playing a melody that made them automatically think of a plateau over a desert with eagles flying overhead and other wildlife around. They still couldn't figure out how he could make them picture things like that, since he couldn't cast a decent genjutsu to save his life. They went over to him and just listened to him while he played. Although the two didn't realize it, Naruto was actually playing one of his instruments to keep the two from constantly checking the time. He did this because he understood where Kakashi was all the time and why he was constantly late. He also planned on doing his best to fix that problem in the future. But for now, he just played to keep the other two busy. After about an hour, Kakashi finally showed up in a puff of smoke. He quickly noticed Naruto playing and started to listen as well. Or at least tried to, because as soon as Naruto noticed his presence, he looked up and stopped playing mid-note. Immediately, Mato and Hiza snapped out of their semi-trances, and Hiza immediately asked why he stopped playing. Naruto just pointed over her shoulder at Kakashi. Hiza and Mato turned around to see their sensei behind them, and Mato decided to greet him in a rather unusual way. Did you have to show up just now? Naruto was playing a real good song just now. Naruto chuckled and quickly apologized about ending his song so abruptly, and then sealed his flute back into its sealing scroll. He then looked at Kakashi and asked, so what's the test going to be, Kakashi-sensei? Well, Naruto, like I said yesterday, this test is to see if you actually have what it takes to be a ninja. I have 2 bells here, and all you 3 each have to do is get one before noon. But sensei, there are only 2 bells. Hiza stated, trying to figure out what angle Kakashi was coming from. The boys were doing the same. That's right. Whoever doesn't get a bell gets sent back to the academy. Also, whoever doesn't get a bell will be tied to one of those 3 posts behind you and watch as I eat my lunch. The 3 genin hopefuls looked at each other, and they could tell something was wrong, but with a glance at each other agreed to talk after the test started and just nodded to Kakashi, showing that they understood. Kakashi noticed the glance they gave to each other, and thought looks like they already suspect something. Good, they'll need that ability to look underneath the underneath as they grow up. Alright, if you 3 are ready, then we will get started. The 3 hopefuls nodded, and Kakashi set a timer on the top of the middle stump and set it to ring at noon. After that he said, "Ready, begin," and instantly shined out of the 3's sight. As soon as he left, the 3 huddled up and began talking. There is no way that getting the bells is the true test. Whoever heard of a genin team with only 2 genin? Hiza asked right off the bat. Agreed, there has got to be another side to this thing. Mato agreed, thinking that he might have an idea about what was going on. But before he could say anything, Naruto decided to put his 2 cents in. I think it's the old divide and conquer test. See if we are able to get over a problem where we could be working at odds with each other. I bet $50 that this is a test to see if we work together instead of going on our own. Hiza snorted and said, "No thanks, Naruto, you're just lucky for me to take that bet." All 3 chuckled, and Hiza continued, "Although you're most likely right about the divide and conquer theory. So now we know what the real test is. How do we get those bells?" Mato asked, and then turned to Naruto. "Any ideas, Naruto?" he asked. Naruto just thought for a minute before he got a wicked gleam in his eyes. A moment later, he got an even more wicked smile, one that made the 2 back away a little bit. "Oh man, I've seen that look before," Mato said. "Yeah. So have I. Whatever he's thinking about, Kakashi-sensei is in serious trouble." "Well, not Kakashi-sensei himself, more like that book of his," Naruto said with that smile still on his face. "Are you crazy?" Mato asked. "From what I've heard, that thing is sacred to him." "Exactly, he will do anything for it. So we use that to our advantage," Naruto said, and proceeded to explain his plan to the 2. "Mato, Hiza, don't get any wrong ideas, but I don't need you to do anything major except set up some traps and then stand in the field." The 2 were about to protest when Naruto continued. "This plan requires a lot of speed to succeed, and let's face it, I'm the fastest in our class." The other 2 didn't like that Naruto would be doing all the work by himself, but agreed anyway, seeing as how he made a very good point. "Okay, Hiza and I will stay here, but what are you going to be doing?" Mato asked, wondering how Naruto would get not only the bells from Kakashi but also his most sacred treasure. "Glad you asked that. Here's what we do. You 2 are going to take all the paper bombs we have and set up a minefield corridor." A minefield corridor is exactly what it sounds like. A corridor with mines on either side, in the woods to my left. Make it real thick because Kakashi and I are going to be going real fast. When I get Kakashi to chase after me, I'll set them off to distract him. Once he's dazed, I'll send him into the field where you guys are. And once he's there, he will give you 2 the bells. That is if he wants his precious book back unharmed. "But how are you going to get his book and for him to chase you down the corridor?" Hiza asked, confused. "Leave that to me," Naruto said. "Let's get everything set up." The 3 then got busy setting up. Training Ground 7 Bell Test, 1 hour in. Preparations were finished quickly, and Mato and Hiza headed back into the field to wait for Naruto to do whatever it was he had planned to get Kakashi to chase him through the corridor. They were still wondering how he planned on getting that detestable orange book so that Kakashi would give up the bells, and were hoping that Naruto knew what he was getting himself into. In the meantime, Naruto had been busy looking for Kakashi for the next 30 minutes. While it is true he could locate Kakashi by firing a chakra pulse or 2, that would have alerted Kakashi to the fact that Naruto could do it, as well as give Kakashi an idea of where he was. After all, you don't become Chunin or Jounin without learning things such as picking up chakra spikes. So Naruto was tracking Kakashi down with a more conventional means. Thanks to all of the training Naruto did with the Kitsune in their summoning realm, Naruto's senses were extremely more sensitive than most other people. He was currently using his Inuzuka-like nose to track down his soon-to-be vicar teacher. Good thing I spent so much time at his apartment last night. I've got his scent down good now. Naruto was doing well tracking Kakashi, but the one-eyed Jounin seemed to know he was being followed and kept moving around. Naruto was finally able to mask his chakra enough and got into position. Fortunately or unfortunately in Kakashi's case, Kakashi was just a few football fields from the corridor that they set up. Naruto immediately realized that Kakashi probably knew about the corridor, but figured that the Cyclops was humoring them, so he readied himself to run like a bat straight out of hell. Meanwhile, Kakashi was nervously checking his surroundings without turning his head. For the past 45 minutes, he could smell Naruto tracking him. The boy was good, but he couldn't entirely get rid of his scent. But while Kakashi was impressed, he was a bit worried that it was just Naruto. The three hopefuls seemed to know more about what the test was really about than all the other teams he had tested before, but only Naruto seemed to be actively searching for him. This meant a couple of things to him. Either the other two were expecting Naruto to do all the work, or they had a plan that Naruto would drag him into. The fact that he had seen them set up the mine corridor led him to believe the second, but either one worried him. The first thought worried him because it would mean they weren't as willing to look out for each other as he thought. The second concerned him even more. There was quite a bit of explosive just ahead of his position. He had reluctantly headed to his position when he realized that he might as well get this over with, and just hope Naruto wouldn't get too hurt. This of course was about to change soon, but he did not know that. Back with Naruto, he had quickly made sure that Kakashi's pouch was on the same side as the bells and that he was sure that the bulge in it was his target. I'm making the bells on Kakashi's left side not right like cannon. You will see why in just a second. Taking a deep yet quiet breath, Naruto took one last moment to review his plan mentally. As soon as he had gone over everything in his mind, he blurred straight toward the Cyclops' lower left back. Back with Kakashi, he suddenly felt something coming towards him at an extremely fast pace. He quickly jumped out of the way to his right and saw Naruto appear on a branch in front of him, kneeling down on one knee, with his arms in front and head bowed. I barely saw him move. Kakashi thought with his visible eye wide open. He almost got a bell. No wonder he and the other two set up that corridor. He could easily go straight through and trigger it halfway through to lose me. It almost worked too. Not bad, Naruto, but I'm afraid you messed up your chance to get the bell that you were after. Naruto still turned away from the silver-haired Jounin, just smirked. Actually, I got just what I was after. Oh? Kakashi asked, eyebrow raised. His face then went to a look of shock when Naruto stood up, turned around and showed what was in his right hand, one orange book. That look of shock quickly turned to horror when Kakashi saw gleam come to the blonde's eye. What are you going to do? He asked in a fearful voice. Naruto just smirked and promptly incinerated the offending book with a fireball. Jutsu. Kakashi just stared in horror for a full 2 seconds until his killing intent spiked so high, it even made Kyuubi nervous. Naruto! I'm going to kill you! Kakashi screamed and chased after Naruto, who as soon as he felt the killing intent, had turned around and hightailed it out of there. Kakashi blindly chased Naruto, not realizing that they were heading straight towards the gauntlet. Naruto headed right through, and when Kakashi reached an area where the bombs were set to a level that would stun instead of kill, triggered every single bomb in the corridor. Mato and Hiza, who were in the field, suddenly saw a huge explosion which rocked the ground they were standing on, which caused them to fall on their rear ends. A few seconds later, Kakashi was still in a daze when Naruto appeared to the right side of the branch Kakashi was on. He was already in the air over the branch by a few feet above and just a little bit behind, so that when he landed, it would be on the branch below. As soon as he appeared, he kicked with his right foot, connecting with Kakashi's head, sending him straight into the field where Mato and Hiza were once again standing. While Kakashi was standing up, wondered just where that train that hit him had come from, Naruto appeared on a branch of a tree on the edge of the field. I suggest you give the bells to my teammates, Kakashi-sensei. Kakashi turned around and glared at Naruto and said, and why would I do that? After all, there is no need to pass a two-man squad. Two-man squad? Hiza asked, really nervous at the way their sensei was looking at her friend. Mato just gulped and looked on. Kakashi answered with venom in his voice, Naruto is going to be in the hospital for a very long time for what he did. Maybe even in the morgue. The other two took a quick step back while Naruto just looked at him with an eyebrow cocked. Talk about showing bravery under fire. He then raised an orange book and asked why. Because I burnt a shadow clone of this? Kakashi's jaw dropped to the floor when he heard that, and then wanted to slap his forehead when heard that it was a fake Naruto had burned. He instantly became afraid again, however, when Naruto flicked his closed right fist open, and upon opening it caused a ball of flame to appear in it. Remember, Naruto has had a long time to use shadow clones, so he has basic control over all of the elements. He is obviously best at wind, but since wind powers fire, he is almost just as good with it. Naruto gave Kakashi a chance right then and there. Give Mato and Hiza the bells or I burn it for real. Kakashi quickly unhooked the bells from his belt and tossed them to the other two hopefuls, and then said in a voice that made the others' sweat drop. There. They have the bells. Now please give me back my precious. Naruto once again raised his right eyebrow and tossed the book to the Cyclops, who immediately treated the thing like some kind of child. There, I won't let anything bad happen to you. I promise. Mato and Hiza looked shocked as Naruto just shook his head and dropped down to the ground, and then walked over to the others. Mato was the first of the two to get back to his senses and asked, "So I guess we passed, right?" Kakashi too got back to business and said, "Yes, you all passed, but..." At this he turned to Naruto, "If you even think about doing that again, I will send you to the hospital for a year, even with that accelerated healing ability of yours." Naruto just nodded and Kakashi continued, "That being said, you guys came up with a good plan. Naruto got me in such a furious state I completely forgot about the corridor when I chased him. He then got me into the middle where the lesser bombs were and activated all of them. The concussive force was enough to daze me so that I would be open to be forced into the field where you two were. You then forced me to give the bells to your teammates. This showed you are willing to work together, and that Naruto is willing to give up his own needs for others, and I'm sure you two are the same." The other two nodded at this. "Good job. Meet back here tomorrow at 7 for training, and then we'll do missions in the afternoon. You have the rest of the day off, you two. Naruto, I would like to talk to you." Naruto nodded and traded high fives with his now official teammates as they headed off and came to facing his new sensei. Kakashi just looked at Naruto for a moment, while thinking to himself, he definitely has more than just his father's looks. He's also got his amazing speed as well. "Naruto, I want to talk to you about the training that we are going to be doing starting tomorrow." He waited for him to nod before continuing. "I take it that you had taught the other two the tree climbing exercise?" Another nod. "Well, I would like you to begin teaching the other two any other chakra control exercises that you may know of starting tomorrow. That and working on their taijutsu and any ninjutsu you can would be a big help, since they're likely to do as you say without any problems." Naruto nodded and said, "Sure, I can do that. It would give them a chance to actually learn after all. Just be here by noon so we can get some missions in." Kakashi just smiled and nodded. The two then went their separate ways. Mizuki had not been kidding when he had said that Naruto's shadow clones would come in handy. Within a week, Team 7 had already done twice the required amount of D-rank missions needed to take part in the next Chunin exams. It got to the point where Naruto would take at least 10 missions at once. It was said that the village never looked so good since all of the fences were painted quickly, and the monument took no time to clean up at all. The only real problems came when it was time for every genin's worst nightmare, Tora hunting. This wasn't a problem for long, however, when Naruto got the bright idea of bringing catnip one time. Everyone who had ever had to do this mission found themselves palming their foreheads and asking themselves why they didn't think of that. After a while, Naruto seemed to be able to get on the cat from hell's good side to the point where the nip was no longer needed, to everyone's relief. But it wasn't just fences and cats the three were given task for. Many of the store owners who would get large shipments soon figured out that they only had to pay for one team when in truth they could have close to 5 at the time. This was good for Naruto because while he was working at all of these stores, he was gradually making it so that everyone was a whole lot nicer to him. In fact, some of the owners would actually give him discounts now. Besides doing D-ranks, Team 7 trained their butts off. While Kakashi was still usually late for everything, Naruto was making progress with him. However, when he actually got to the team meetings, he was one hell of a taskmaster. Each day the three would do laps around the village and other extreme workouts such as running up and down the Hokage's monument. And this was just their warm-ups. After that, they would have quick spars. More like all-out warfare. After that, they would then work on chakra control and learning justice. It was during these times that Naruto learned that he could cover his hands or any other part of his body with wind chakra and slice through practically anything. Think Kabuto's signature fighting technique, only with wind instead of regular chakra. Naruto also took things up a notch with his weight training. 1 year after Naruto began using shadow clones, he decided to start wearing weights to get his speed up like his father's. After joining Team 7, Naruto took it up a notch. Instead of regular weights, he started wearing chakra weights. These weights took the percentage of chakra, and for each % of your overall chakra put into a seal would make you feel 10 pounds heavier. By the end of the month, Naruto was at 30%. This of course made him practically untouchable during spars with his teammates whenever he took them off. Unfortunately for Naruto and Kakashi, 2 months into training, Guy witnessed one of these spars and dragged the two into a 2-on-2 spar with him and Guy. Now this one time would not have been so bad. However, Naruto actually made the mistake of wiping the floor with Lee in less than 5 moves. I'll let you use your imaginations on that, but just know that Naruto used his chakra hands to make it so that Lee couldn't move. Unfortunately, Kakashi also won against Guy, although not as fast. However, the damage was done and Guy insisted on more matches, leading to the eternal rivalry of youth between the ages. I know, scary, right? Truth be told, Naruto did not really mind, since Lee was one of the few people his age who could actually give him a good workout when sparring. Now if he could only get those two away from that flames of youth crap. And of course there was training with his adopted father Kyubi. After Naruto graduated, the fox decided it was a good time to accelerate Naruto's training by having him work on sword fighting. It wasn't just training and missions every day for Naruto though. Sometimes when he would have the day off, he would wait at the academy for Iruka and Mizuki to finish their lectures and he would chat with them. It was on one of these days that he got to meet Niji's cousin, who would soon later become one of his most precious people. Hidden Leaf Village Ninja Academy, 4 months after graduation, Teacher's Lounge. Naruto was walking through the hallways towards the Teacher's Lounge. He was going to tell his 2 favorite teachers about the C rank that he and his team just finished. This one is his 3rd, but the first outside of the Land of Fire. He turned into the room to find the 2 friends just about done grading papers. "Hey guys," Naruto said, coming in and taking a seat at the table his 2 senseis were seated at. "Hey Naruto, how you been doing lately?" Mizuki asked, looking up from his last paper. "Been good. Just got back from a C rank outside of the Land of Fire," Naruto said. "Really? That's your first mission outside of the country, isn't it? How did it go?" Iruka asked, very interested in how his favorite student from last year's class did. "Yeah, it was. Anyway, I did fine, Iruka-sensei. It was a simple escort mission of a merchant's caravan to a town just west of the border. Since it was a large caravan, we had to work with another team. Would have had to have another team with us as well, but apparently someone in the caravan had heard about my shadow clone ability and asked that I quote-unquote put them to good use." Mizuki and Iruka just chuckled at that, and the 3 then spent the next few minutes talking before the 2 teachers left towards their apartments. Naruto was leaving as well when he noticed a girl on the swing in front of the academy. Now normally he wouldn't think anything of it. However, he saw a loneliness in the girl's eyes that he quickly recognized. "She looks just like I did all those years ago," he thought to himself, remembering the times before he met up with Mizuki and Iruka. Deciding to talk to her, he headed over to the girl who he recognized as a Hyuga by her eyes. Wonder why a Hyuga would be lonely? He asked himself. "Hey, mind if I sit down here?" he asked once he got next to the girl. The girl had been so busy just looking down and being lost in her thoughts that she was surprised to hear someone talking to her. Jumping a little, she looked to her side, seeing a blonde with whisker-like marks on his face along with the bluest eyes she had ever set sight on. Drawn out of her thoughts, she just slowly shook her head and turned back around while putting an arm over the swing's rope support. Think of Naruto when he failed the exam that final time and is watching the others. Naruto watched her for a few seconds before sitting down cross-legged. After about 5 minutes of silence between the 2, Naruto decided to see if he could get the Hyuga to open up a little bit. Taking a deep breath, he then said to her, "My name's Naruto Uzumaki. What's yours?" The girl just looked at him for a moment before replying Hinata Hyuga and just turned back again. Naruto just sighed, realizing that he wasn't getting anywhere this way, and decided to take a more direct approach. "So who are you waiting for?" he asked while looking at her. "No one really," she said, not even turning this time. "I find that odd. Normally parents come to pick up their children," Naruto said, trying to get the girl to say more than 3 words to him. "Well, usually father sends someone for me, but lately no one has come," she said. Finally got a full sentence from her. Naruto thought, then frowned. "Why's that?" he asked. The Hyuga just sighed and then said he probably doesn't think I'm worth it. No matter what I do, it just doesn't seem to be good enough. He seems to think my younger sister can do everything better than I can. "I'm sure he doesn't think that," Naruto said, trying to cheer her up. "But he does. Ever since my mother died giving birth to my sister, he's been nothing but cold and heartless to me and my sister. But more so to me," she said sadly. Before Naruto could say anything though, she continued. "It's not just him either. The whole council thinks I'm good for nothing and weak. And why shouldn't they? I can't seem to do anything right, and it's never good enough for my father." Naruto just got pissed at this. For years people had called him a failure, telling him that he couldn't do anything right. Getting up, he went in front of the girl and placed a finger under her chin, tilting her head up, making her look him in the eye. "Listen, Hinata, and listen well. You cannot let what those people tell you get to you." But the girl started. "No buts. The only one who can call yourself a failure is yourself, and from what I can see you are not one. Just someone who is lacking confidence. Believe me, I know what it is like to be called a failure. Hell, I've been called even worse. But I didn't let those idiots get to me, and I grew stronger because of it. Yeah, it took a lot of work, but I kept at it. All you have to do is just keep going." All this time he looked into her eyes, not blinking once. Hinata just nodded to him, but was thrilled on the inside with what she was hearing. Here was someone who didn't think that she was a failure. Someone who had been through the same thing she was right now and had gotten through it. She was even more thrilled when she heard what he said next. If these fools think you're weak, then all you have to do is show them they're wrong. All you have to do is get stronger. I know you can, and if you want, I can help. Hinata couldn't believe her ears. Here was the same person who had been through the same things she had and was willing to help her. Looking into his eyes, she asked, "You really mean it? You'll really help me?" Naruto just nodded and said yes. "If you want me to." Hinata nodded and he continued. "Me and my team just finished a C rank today, so I don't think we will be doing any missions again tomorrow. Let me ask my sensei, and if we aren't, then we'll get started then. I'll be waiting here if I don't have any." Hinata just nodded and Naruto said goodbye before leaving to find Kakashi. Not surprisingly, he found his perverted teacher buying the newest volume of that hated orange book at the bookstore. Figures, he thought before walking up to him. "Hey Kakashi-sensei, can I talk to you?" Kakashi just turned around and, noticing the look on his sensei's son's face, nodded. The two left the bookstore and Kakashi asked what Naruto wanted to talk about. Naruto explained what happened by the swing and asked if they had any missions planned for tomorrow so that he could see if he could train the Hyuga. Kakashi listened and then told him that he was just planning on having them do a few D ranks and training and that he had no problems with Naruto teaching her. He actually said to use Training Ground 7 and that if he need any help to just ask. Naruto thanked him and took off towards his house, wondering what he should help his new friend with first. Next day, tree swing outside of academy. Hinata came out of the academy and immediately perked up when she saw Naruto leaning against the tree. When Naruto caught sight of her, he waved to her and headed towards her. When he got close, he jerked his head towards the exit, and when Hinata nodded to him, the two left together. "We're going to be going to my team's training grounds. We'll start once we're there," Naruto said, taking a quick glance to his newest student. "Okay," Hinata said, noticing the glance and smiling at her new friend. Naruto just grinned and led the way. Meanwhile, Training Ground 7. The rest of Team 7 was waiting for Naruto to show up with his new friend that he was going to be helping. When Kakashi and Naruto had explained to the other two what Naruto was going to start doing today, the other two decided to see if they could help out at all. In the meantime, Mado and Hiza were currently in a 2-on-1 battle royal with their silver-haired sensei. "So what do you think Naruto will work on first today, sensei? Chakra control or taijutsu?" Mado asked, throwing a right hook at Kakashi and following up with a roundhouse kick, pivoting when Kakashi dodged and turning it into a spin kick that forced Kakashi to go towards the only female on the team. "I would personally start with a little bit of taijutsu, but I think he wants to try chakra control first," Kakashi replied as he started blocking punches and kicks come from the kunoichi and jumping away from a quick punch to get some distance. Said, "Good one, Hiza. By the way, what do you think they'll work on first?" Hiza just shrugged and closed the distance again, and with Mado, who came to her side, started going after their teacher again. "Can't say really. I mean, yeah, he said that he would work on those two first, but does it really matter in what order? I mean, sure, the Hyugas use extreme chakra control in their gentle fist style, and yes, Naruto has studied it somewhat. But does it really matter this early in the game?" "Good point," Mado said, dodging under a roundhouse kick and tried to get into his sensei's bubble with a kick of his own, but only ended in making the Cyclops take a step to keep the distance between the two. This was the scene that Naruto and Hinata walked onto. "Wow, that's amazing." Hinata breathed while Naruto just chuckled. Hiza heard him, and without taking her eyes off of Kakashi, or even slowing down, called out, "Hey Naruto. You just going to stand there or are you going to help?" Kakashi's eyes suddenly widened when Naruto did his signature entry into any battle where the opponent is usually a lot slower than he is. Think what Naruto did in the bell test with that kick to the side of the opponent's face when Naruto is in the air. Kakashi was able to reduce the impact by rolling and then had to immediately go on the defense from all the kicks and punches that was coming from Naruto. Meanwhile, Mado and Hiza got into position on either side of him, and the three proceeded to box their teacher in. After about 2 minutes of a rather intense taijutsu match between the four, Kakashi called it quits so that Naruto could start teaching Hinata. Said Hyuga just there with a look of shocked amazement on her face. When the four started walking towards her, the four saw this and Hiza chuckled. "I think we broke her," she said, earning chuckles from the three guys in the area. Hinata snapped out of her semi-trance and looking at Naruto said, "That was amazing. Can you really help me be able to fight like that?" Naruto nodded and said, "Not all at once, obviously. It'll take some time, but I'm sure that you can reach that point. Although you will have to do the most of it. I'm really just here to help you get started. All I can do is show you what to do. You are the only one who can decide how high you climb." Hinata just nodded and then asked what she had to do. Naruto decided to see how she did in taijutsu first and spent the next hour and a half working on that, showing where she could improve. After that, he worked on chakra control, showing her all kinds of exercises including leaf balancing and tree climbing. It went on like this for another 4 months. Naruto was very impressed with his friend's progress, and even taught her a few justice he knew. Eventually Hinata got to the point where she could hold her own when sparring with Mato and Hiza, and Naruto decided that there wasn't really anything else he could teach her. She would sometimes come find him if she was having troubles with something, but usually it was just to hang out with him, and the two became quite close. Everyone in her class had noticed how much she had improved, especially her confidence in herself. One day, Irika decided to see what brought about the change. Ninja Academy, 2 months before graduation. Irika was amazed with Hinata. She went to being one of the worst students in regards to taijutsu and other physical attributes required to ninja, with an extreme case of self-doubt, to one of the most confident and strongest in her class. That plus she was a lot more open now. One day during a taijutsu test where Mizuki was once again helping him test the students, he watched Hinata and her opponent face off against each other. The opponent was a poor sap of a kunoichi, a fangirl. Now the one thing that separated this poor excuse of a ninja from the other fangirls was the fact that she was particularly mean and liked to make others feel like dirt. She immediately started to trash talk Hinata, thinking that Hinata's newfound confidence was just a mask. When she couldn't get Hinata to bite, she became very upset and rushed straight in. Big no-no on her part. Just as she got in close, Hinata stepped to the side and got to one knee while turning to face her opponent. With her left arm she swept the girl's legs out from under her, and with her right slammed her arm into the girl's stomach and sent her flying into the mat they were on top of. The girl's breath instantly left her and Mizuki called the match. Hinata got a few cheers from her classmates while the rest of the snobs realized one very important thing: the new Hinata was not a mask and was here to stay. Irika then congratulated Hinata and decided to ask the one thing that was on everyone's mind. Very well done, Hinata. You've definitely improved. What have you been doing differently? Hinata noticed everyone looking at her and got a small blush. Well, you see, Irika-sensei, I've been getting some help outside of class. Irika raised an eyebrow at the blush and answer and decided to get some more info. Can you be a little more specific, Hinata? What kind of help did you get? Was it with your father? Hinata shook her head and said, no, sensei. I've been training with Naruto and the rest of Team 7. Irika and Mizuki just burst into laughter when they heard this, causing everyone to look at them like they were nuts. Once Mizuki got his laughter under control, he said, well, that certainly explains it. That kid can be one harsh taskmaster. Believe me, I've seen what he does for training nowadays. Hinata just nodded to this and smiled. Irika, who had also gotten his little laughing fit under control, decided to ask another question. So Hinata, how long have you been training with them? Well, Irika-sensei, I started training with them about 4 months ago. Hinata said, and everyone was impressed with how fast Hinata had grown. One particular Uchiha was wondering if he could train with this team since they obviously knew what they were doing. Village hidden in the leaves, hospital, 2 weeks before academy graduation exams. Naruto was currently looking out a window in a hallway on the 2nd floor of the hospital. He had an arm on the window with his forehead resting on his arm. His eyes were downcast and roaring around in emotions like a giant storm off of one of the famous Great Lakes rumored to be on another continent far from his home. Just to clear things up, while the elemental countries does look like China, I'm making it another continent just in case I put any Asian references in. Many people wanted to come comfort him, but they stood away because they weren't entirely sure how he would handle them trying to get through to him. This was understandable considering how often his chakra would flare. He was constantly going from despair to his friend's fate and anger at himself and not being able to prevent it in the first place, as well as at those responsible. Every time he got angry at himself or those he had cut down, his chakra would flare, not in large scale since on an unconscious level he knew that it would not be a good idea to let his chakra loose in a hospital, but every time he flared, you could see a small aura around the blonde. One that would occasionally have the smallest tint of red in it. This red tint that would sometimes occur was another reason they hung back. The doctors and nurses knew that the boy was still in control. That was not the problem. The problem was that if you got too close when the red tint was there, then you would start to really feel what the kid was feeling. That red tint was like a radio tower broadcasting the kid's emotions to a small, 5-foot radius area around him. Whenever someone tried to get close to him while that tint was there, they would gasp and quickly draw away. What they did not realize was that the QB was trying to get them to just leave his host and student alone so that he could work out his problems by himself. Although if this kept up, he was going to take matters in his own hands. Naruto just sighed and once again went through the loop of his thought track. Hard C to easy B rank my foot. We were outnumbered, outmatched, and outclassed. We should never have taken that mission, even if we could have handled it if that info had been correct. I should have been able to do more. Because of my weakness, Mato and Hiza could have died. As it is, they'll be lucky to still be ninja in a year. I should have just trusted my instinct. Flashback: village hidden in the leaves, on approach to Hokage Tower, 4 days prior. Team 7 was currently headed to the Hokage Tower to get a new mission. They were planning on getting another C rank to keep their skills sharp. Sparring with each other was all good and all, and they were improving that way, but sparring each day only held its charm for so long. The team all agreed that it would be a good idea for them to get out of the village for a short time. As they got to the gate, the guards nodded at them and let them through, and they made their way to the floor where the missions are handed out. Once they reached the floor, the team found to the genuine surprise that along with the Hokage, Irika and Mizuki were currently working the desks. The two would often do this during the summer months to keep a steady income, but the academy wouldn't be out for another month or so. Irika, noticing the looks from his former students, chuckled and before they could ask told them about how one of the main water lines had busted when a student got a little too trigger-happy with the water just as his family had taught him, and had somehow forced the water from the main pipe to come after him. Naruto shook his head at that. Apparently the guy hadn't even mastered the Jutsu, which would have allowed him to control where he drew the water from for the attack. Now, because one student hadn't finished working on one Jutsu, the entire first floor was being drained today. While the Hokage still found it slightly amusing, it also still gave him a headache thinking about all the paperwork he had to do because of it, shadow clones or not. Shaking his head to get that particular memory out of his head, Sarutobi looked up at the team that was quickly becoming one of his favorites. And not just because of Naruto being in it either. This team had an almost perfect track record. They always finished their missions on time and almost always returned to the village without a scratch on them. But unlike most teams that became that good, they didn't let it get to their heads. They were confident, not cocky, a trait he was glad the team members shared with each other. Those three knew their limits, and they were not afraid to admit those limits. Smiling inward to himself, he decided that now was not the time to think along those lines and got the ball rolling. Hello Team 7. Here for your usual? Or would you like another C rank? C rank if you please, Hokage-sama. We all feel that we need to get out of the village for a couple of days at least. Kakashi answered while his three charges nodded their heads. Sarutobi nodded, knowing that even with Naruto's shadow clones doing most of the work, they take that the team needed to get out of the village every once in a while so that they not only could keep their skills up, but to get a change of scenery. Very well, let's see what we've got. He pulled out the list of C-rank missions and began looking through them. A few of them caught his eye and he read them out to them. All right, we have a simple courier mission to the capital, nothing special on that one, just sending a few documents to the daimyo. There is also another courier mission to the Sand Village, again nothing special on that one. And finally, we have a bandit elimination problem. A group of bandits have been striking a few of the merchant supply caravans that are usually sent here. We believe that they are a relatively small group. The caravans that are usually attacked carry supplies such as emergency grain and medical supplies. Although a few have been ninja supply caravans, which lead us to believe that they are opportunity strikes and that they sell off what they don't want. Which will it be? He said, looking up. Kakashi looked to his squad and noticed Naruto unconsciously cracking his knuckles. Raising an eyebrow at the blonde, said blonde realized just what he did right then and got a little embarrassed. I take it you want to take the bandit mission, and Naruto? Kakashi asked with his patented eye smile. Yeah, I guess. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm fine with any of them, but it could be a good workout. The other two simply nodded their heads in agreement with their teammate, and Kakashi accepted the mission scroll for the bandit mission. Opening the scroll, he gave it a quick glance and told his team to grab their gear for a maximum week-long mission and to meet him at the North Gate in an hour. Nodding, all three shined away, which surprised their former teachers, who looked at Kakashi like he just grew a second head. The Hokage just chose to raise one of his eyebrows at the copy nin. Kakashi noticed, and his face, or what you could see of it anyway, clearly said what? Before he too left in a poof of smoke. Hidden Leaf Village North Gate, 58 minutes later. Everyone was waiting at the North Gate for Naruto to show up. The other three found this slightly odd since Naruto was usually at a meeting spot at least 5 minutes before the time to meet. Although he was late a couple of times, it was always for a good reason. Suddenly, they heard a poof of smoke and turned around to see Naruto standing behind them. There you are. We were starting to worry about you, Naruto, Hiza said, smiling at her friend. Naruto just got that smile of his and started rubbing the back of his neck. Sorry guys. He said, I had a short run-in with Konohamaru on the way here. Although I still have that bad feeling that I had half an hour ago. I better stay on guard. He thought to himself, looking down for a moment. He then looked up. So we going now or what? The others nodded and they proceeded to leave the village behind. Forest in the Land of Fire, 2 hours north of the Hidden Leaf. Kakashi, Mato, and Hiza were starting to worry about their blonde companion. While it is true that on missions he was more quiet than usual, this was nuts. He kept having a serious look on his face like he was trying to figure something out and not getting any closer to it. Finally, Mato had enough. Making sure he knew where to land next, he turned in midair and looked at Naruto. "Hey Naruto. What's wrong?" he said before landing and kicking off again, not even looking down when he came close to the branch, although he did take a quick glance over his shoulder when he kicked off again. Still facing his teammate, he continued. "You've been like this ever since we left the village. What's bothering you?" Naruto just sighed and said, "I honestly don't know, Mato. I've been having this feeling since before we left, but for the life of me I can't figure out what." Hiza just shrugged and said, "Maybe it's just nerves." "Yeah, but why would I be nervous about going against a bandit camp? It's not like this is the first bandit raid we've done, and I didn't feel anything like this the first 2 times," he commented. Kakashi turned his head from his position in the lead and decided to add his 2 cents. "While I highly doubt that we will run into serious trouble on this mission, Naruto, if your gut is telling you something, it is best to follow it. All 3 of you be on guard." The 3 young shinobi nodded their heads and continued. Next day. It had taken the group a little over 24 hours to reach a close proximity to the area that raids were to usually happen. While it is true that they could have gotten there a lot faster, the group wanted to preserve their energy, so had gone at a relatively slow pace. When they got to the area where their mission scroll said they should be, Kakashi nodded to Naruto, who, since he had done this before in previous bandit raids, knew what to do to help them locate their target. Going through the necessary hand signs, he quickly had a large group of shadow clones around him. After he had created the clones, the original bit his thumb and started making hand signs. After a quick sequence, he slammed his palm on the ground and a large cloud of smoke and a bunch of pops were heard. When the smoke cleared, there was a large pack of regular-sized kitsune. "Forgot he could do that, didn't you?" With a nod from the original, the pack immediately separated and each fox went to a different shadow clone. The pack had done this before previously, so knew what to do. Each pair of clone and fox left to go see what they could find, while another fox, this one a bit larger, waited with Naruto. This one was the overall leader for the pack and would be staying with the original to help coordinate if he chose to keep the pack around. It wasn't long before the pack had located the bandit camp. Naruto quickly recalled the pack, and when they came back, they quickly told the others about what they saw. "Report," the lead fox said when everyone was back. One of the older foxes said, "Naruto-sama, the camp is approximately 20 miles from here and consists of about 30 or some bandits. They are situated in a group of tents that, while are sturdy, they look like they can be moved easily. I believe that they move around every once in a while to stay hidden." "Didn't work this time," Mato muttered under his breath, though everyone heard him the same. Naruto nodded to the fox to continue, and it did. While most of the tents look like they can only hold 1 or 2 people at most, there were 2 tents that were considerably larger than the others, one of which smelled heavily of steel and iron. "I believe it is safe to assume it's where they keep their weapons." The humans nodded at this. "The other tent smells more like a tavern and is most likely where they have their meetings." Another nod. "The camp is located in a small clearing with a sentry's post hidden in the trees around the clearing halfway between each compass point. Means instead of the usual you have them at any NWSESW, there is 1 archer in each post. That is all." Naruto nodded, and seeing how there were only 30 bandits, decided to send the pack home since his clones should be able to make light work of them at that few of a number. With a yip, the whole pack went back to their summoning realm. As Naruto would soon learn, that was a big mistake on his part. Because unknown to the pack and shinobi, these weren't regular bandits. They were missing Nin, who kept that little secret by only using regular weapons and taijutsu. 30 minutes later. The group decided to play it safe on this one and use an exploding variant of Naruto's shadow clones to take care of the group. Messy, but the best way to deal with the group. However, what they hadn't counted on was that these bandits were able to guess that when the only thing the clones did was actually enter the camp and just spread out evenly, that something was wrong. Right before they blew up, all of them used substitution justice. Right after the explosion, the missing Nin tracked down Team 7's position. And that is when all hell broke loose. With Team 7. Team 7 heard the explosion and got ready to move out to take care of any stragglers. They were on their way when one of the groups of so-called bandits ran into them. As soon as the Nuke Nin saw them, one of them launched a flare, signaling the others. From there on out it was one big mess. While Naruto was able to get a ton of shadow clones out, none of them could really do much since the Nins kept using wide-range attacks to take them out en masse. The team was able to hold out for about half an hour before all hell broke loose. Naruto's POV. I knew I should have listened to that feeling. I thought while dodging a guy who was wielding a 6-foot blade like a twig. I don't know how long we can keep this up. All of a sudden I heard a scream of pain. Finding an opening, I quickly made 2 hand signs and grabbed the guy's wrist. As soon as I made contact, the guy immediately lit up like a Christmas tree as over 1,000 bolts went through him in a matter of seconds. With him out of the way, I turned around and noticed Hiza with a hand over her left shoulder and a bunch of arrows sticking out of her. Mato was standing over her, but he wasn't in much better shape either. All of a sudden, the two were hit by a devastating wind attack which quickly cut through their bodies. I could see they were still alive as I blasted the guy who did it with a wind attack of my own that immediately killed the bastard when I saw 4 nins coming to finish them off. Realizing that they couldn't do anything, I put all of my chakra into my legs and hoped to God that I could get there in time. Hiza's POV. I knew we were in serious trouble. I had gotten hurt by an electrical attack which shot my reaction time to hell. Right after, a bunch of arrows got me as well as an earth spear attack straight through my left shoulder. Mato stood over me trying to protect me, but he got hit by the same electrical attack and got even more arrows trying to keep me safe. All of a sudden, I heard a sound that told me we're seriously in trouble. Wind style. Stripping wind Jutsu. I know Mato heard it as well, and we both tried to get out of the way. But our bodies wouldn't move, and we got hit head on. I felt so much pain go through my body, I was sure I had lost a limb or two. Then I heard another wind attack, thankfully from Naruto. Wind style. Wind scythe Jutsu. Even though I couldn't see it, I somehow knew he had killed the other guy. All of a sudden, Mato and I saw 4 guys coming at us with swords, and I knew this was it. Closing my eyes, I waited for the pain to come when I suddenly heard a squelching sound and a warm liquid hit me. Opening my eyes, they immediately went wide with horror for there in front of me. Mato's POV. We were in serious doo-doo, and I knew it. I had tried to protect Hiza as best as I could, but I ended up getting hurt just as bad if not worse. I felt the wind just to go straight through my body, and it felt like I went through a blender. I heard Naruto cast a wind just of his own, and somehow knew he killed the guy who sent the other one. I mentally sighed in relief. I didn't think I could handle another attack like that. All of a sudden, I saw 4 nins land on a branch in front of us. Each one had a sword and I saw the grins on their faces and knew that this was it. They suddenly pushed off at a high speed straight for Hiza and me, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw her close hers. I kept my own eyes open, determined to not give those bastards the satisfaction that would give them when a blur streaked right out of the corner of my eye and stopped right in front of us. I had just enough time to see Naruto facing the nins with his arms outstretched before the nins got to us. My eyes instantly widened when normal POV. Squelch. Naruto had just barely gotten in front of his teammates in time. However, it came at a terrible price. He now had 4 swords ran straight through his body, straight to the hilts. His lungs, stomach, and kidney were all punctured. He noticed the shock on the nins' faces at what just happened and turned his head to look over his shoulder at Mato and Hiza, who both had looks of horror on their faces mixed with blood over their bodies. "Are you guys all right?" he asked, and Mato just nodded numbly. The 4 ninjas smirked, and as one pulled out their swords. Then one of them spoke up. Well, I guess it's true what they say. You Leaf Ninja will give your lives for each other. Too bad you're all going to die anyway. Although I guess the 2 of you are lucky to have a friend willing to die for you. But it's over now." With that said, the 4 stepped up to finish the job when all of a sudden. QB's POV. QB watched from inside the seal as the human he has come to call his son and his teammates did their best to survive from the overkill that the so-called bandits were becoming. Even as he watched in fear for him and his friends, he couldn't help but be proud at how they were holding up. All of a sudden he heard a scream of pain in a voice that he recognized. When his son turned around, he saw the other 2 brats on a tree branch together in a real bad shape. All of a sudden he felt the wind being manipulated and saw an attack hit them dead on when they tried to move their unresponsive bodies to get out of the way. He immediately sensed his son's shock and rage before he immediately manipulated wind as well and killed the person who dared attack his friends like that. When his son turned his head again, he saw the 4 ninja with the swords and immediately knew what was going to happen. His son put all the chakra he had into his legs and QB put in some of his own to help, even as he had one thought, this is going to hurt like hell. All of a sudden, he felt enormous pain rip straight through his son's nervous system. He watched as his son asked his teammates if they were all right, listened to the nins laughing and mocking his son, all the while rage was slowly building up. Right when the nins began coming closer, red chakra started flowing past the seal with one thought running through his head. Not this time, you bastards. Kakashi's POV. Kakashi was having a bit of trouble himself. He had resorted to using his Chidori much the same way Naruto used his chakra hands and was cutting through the ninja every chance he got. But it was tiring to keep the Chidori going like that, and he was running low on chakra. He had just got through the last bastard around him when all of a sudden, he heard a scream. Turning around, he saw the nin shoot a wind just towards two of his students. He watched in growing horror as they were hit dead on. He saw Naruto hit the guy with a wind attack of his own which killed the guy by beheading, and then saw as he turned his head and immediately became a blur. Kakashi's horror only grew when he saw 4 swords pierce his sensei's son's chest. Grief and rage built up inside of him when all of a sudden he felt a chakra that had not been felt for close to 13 years. And all of a sudden, hell came to Earth to visit. Normal POV. All of a sudden, red chakra formed around Naruto, completely healing his injuries. The ninjas started to get scared and started to back away, but then something happened that made them literally piss in their pants. The chakra took on the form of a fox head and then covered him in what could only be called a cloak of chakra that made the kid look like a giant one-tailed fox. But it wasn't just the appearance that made them scared. It was the feeling they got from it. It felt like the devil himself was there, and they knew they were dead. Naruto stood up and immediately killed the 4 by slicing straight through them with a horizontal cut, causing them to fall and the 2 halves of their bodies to separate on the way down. Think of what happened to Darth Maul in Episode 1. Out of the 30 ninjas that were at the camp, 12 had not entered the fight yet, hanging back as reserves while the others fought and were the intruders down. Now, while some would call that being a coward, these guys knew they were the weaker group and hung back thinking that they could handle any after the others were done fighting. They laughed when they saw what happened to the 3 kids and thought to themselves that it would all be over soon. And they were right, just not in a way they thought. They watched in shocked horror when the red chakra came out, and as the blonde kid sliced straight through the other 4 ninja with nothing but his chakra-covered arm. Their horror grew to extreme levels when the kid that they now knew was a demon in human skin turned to face them. And then there was nothing left of them. The other 3 members of Team 7 were not sure what exactly had happened. One second Naruto was on the branch with his 2 teammates. The next second, he was next to the 12 ninja that hadn't joined in, with the only thing showing that they were ever actually there a bunch of limbs strewn about. A second later, the red chakra went back into Naruto's body, and he dropped to a knee and started panting. He took a few breaths and headed back to his 2 teammates who just looked at him in amazement, and with just a small bit of fear. Kakashi came over as well and started looking at his charges. Realizing that while some of the wounds were certainly severe, given proper first aid they were not immediately life-threatening. He and Naruto started patching the 2 up the best they could before taking off as fast as possible to the leaf with the 2 on their backs. En route to the Hidden Leaf Village, 1 hour till arrival. Naruto and Kakashi were using as much speed as they could to get their teammates to safety. Whereas it had taken them more than a day to get to the camp, they were now running like they had hounds from hell on their heels, cutting the travel time down to 5 hours. Mato and Hiza had been slipping in and out of a type of semi-unconsciousness. They were both trying to figure out what had happened to their best friend while they were awake. Finally, Mato couldn't stand it anymore and asked from Kakashi's back what happened. Naruto sighed since this was definitely not how he wanted his friends to find out about his adopted father. With a heavy heart, he told the 2 about what really happened almost 13 years ago and about how he had gotten training from the Kyuubi who was now more like a father to him than anything else. The 2 were shocked about what Naruto had been hiding from them for all those years but realized it explained a lot about the blonde, especially the looks he used to always receive from the villagers and how he always seemed to heal so quickly. Naruto told them that he would understand if the 2 no longer wanted to be his friends, which immediately shocked the 2 to their core. Hisa's response was one that Naruto really needed to hear and that Mato could only nod his head while agreeing with her. Why would we want to no longer be friends? You are a jail, not the prisoner. And by the sounds of things, that prisoner didn't do what he did on his own free will either. You both have gone through so much that has not been your fault. It wouldn't be right to leave you, nor do we want to. Both Naruto and the Kyuubi inside of him were grateful to the 2. Naruto and Kakashi continued on their way, both glad to have heard what they did. Hidden Leaf Hospital. As soon as they got to the gates, the 2 still standing ninja were immediately escorted to the hospital where doctors quickly took the 2 wounded and started working on them. The copy nin and his student then waited for a few hours for the doctors to come out. When they did, they gave the 2 news that shocked them to their very cores. Mato and Hiza had taken too much damage to their bodies. While the arrows and lightning-style Jutsu attacks certainly did a number on them, it was the final wind Jutsu that was the straw on the camel's back. It had cut through the muscles and bones, making their arms and legs practically useless. While the doctors had been able to heal their injuries, the damage had been done. While the injuries were healed, they had been so severe that it would be at least a year before the 2 could even think about doing more than a D rank, and even that wouldn't be for at least 2 months while their bodies were taught how to properly move around again. There was actually a 5% chance that the two could never actually be ninja ever again. Naruto was shocked to hear this and went into a state of depression afterwards, blaming himself for what happened. And I know that some of you are wondering why the two did not body flicker to the village. The reason is simple. The Shushine technique is not a long-range teleport technique. It has a limited range. It would not make sense to make jumps with the technique when they were in an extreme rush and could better use their chakra the old-fashioned way. End flashback. Naruto's mind was a mess. Kyuubi was about to drag his son into his mindscape and smack some sense into the kid when both demon and host sensed a familiar presence come close. All of a sudden the two felt a pair of slim yet well-built arms wrap around the blonde's waist. Hinata had heard what had happened when she overheard her classmates Sakura and Ino talking about how Ino had seen a blonde kid and a silver-haired jounin racing to the hospital with two kids on their backs. She had immediately ran to the hospital, and when she found Kakashi sadly leaning against a wall, asked just what had happened. Listening to Kakashi, she immediately grew shocked at what had happened. She knew about the Kyuubi since Naruto would sometimes take her into his mindscape to train with the fox since the big guy thought he could show her a few things while he was in human form. She had been shocked to learn the boy she had become so close to held a demon she was taught was killed in school. It didn't change how she saw him though, for which he was grateful. After her talk with the scarecrow-like jounin, she went looking for her favorite blonde-haired friend only to find him leaning against a window with his chakra pulsing, occasionally with a red tint whenever someone got too close. Somehow instinctively knowing what was going on, she walked over to her first real friend and wrapped her arms around him, causing him to tense slightly. Rising a little on her toes, she whispered into his ear, "Don't worry, Naruto. Everything will be alright, I'm here for you." Hidden Leaf Village, day after bandit mission. Word of what had happened to Naruto's team got around the village fast. People were wondering how a mission could have such bad intel for it. Almost everyone was wondering how a genin team that has only been together for just around a year could have gotten out of that without actually any of the genins dying. Most of the younger groups figured that Naruto had proved his nickname of one-man army and simply swamped the missing nins with so many numbers that they had to fall. Most of the older ninjas, however, had another idea. They believed that Naruto had somehow tapped into the Kyuubi's power when things got rough. When some of them confronted Kakashi about this idea, they were shocked to find they were right. There would have been a mass panic except for the fact that Kakashi told them exactly how it happened. When the older shinobis heard about the conditions they were in at the time, they realized the blonde had no choice in the matter. And while they were concerned that he had done it at all, they were relieved to hear that he dropped the chakra cloak as soon as all the enemy nin were taken care of. They all agreed to keep the fact that Naruto had used the Kyuubi's chakra to themselves and that they would do their best to make sure the actual truth was not made known to the younger group by encouraging the Shadow Clone Army rumor. It goes without saying that when Naruto heard of this, he was extremely grateful to them. Meanwhile, the Hokage had decided that Naruto was not mentally fit to be on active duty right now and gave him and Kakashi the week off so that he could cope. Speaking of Naruto, he was handling what happened reasonably well thanks to Hinata. The two had a long talk the day he got back and she was able to get him out of his depressed state. The two started spending so much time together that they actually moved from just friends to something more. And while it wasn't a boyfriend/girlfriend relationship yet, they were definitely getting close. In the afternoons for the next couple of weeks, Hinata and Naruto were almost always seen together, whether they were training or just hanging around the village. Mizuki and Iruka helped out as well. Both had their own talks with the blonde, while Mizuki took it one step further by helping Naruto pull off a few pranks to blow off some steam. What really did the trick for him was when he painted the Hokage monument so that each face's hair had a different tie-dye color to it. No one knew how he managed doing that without being noticed until he was done, though some wondered briefly if he could do Genjutsu after all. There was one other person that really helped Naruto pull through, Rock Lee. Lee would challenge Naruto at least once every day, and would really put the sapphire-eyed boy through his paces. This was good for Naruto because it not only made him take his mind off the mission, it also pushed him to get better with each match. By the end of the week, the blonde was back to the way he was, and was ready for active service again. But although Naruto was mentally ready to be back on active duty, he and Kakashi were only a two-man team, meaning they could only do D ranks until they got new teammates. And while Naruto had been relieved to hear his two teammates would be fully recovered in a year at most, either one wanted him or Kakashi to wait for them. So it was decided that Kakashi would receive 2 of the academy students that would be graduating in a week. Naruto was hoping to get Hinata as one of his new teammates, but unfortunately the council had other ideas. They had basically ordered Kakashi to take on the last Uchiha due to the fact that he had the Sharingan. This in itself wasn't the problem though. The problem was that Sasuke was Rookie of the Year and the top kunoichi always went with it in team selections. And while Hinata had been progressing quite rapidly, she was still just behind another girl. One by the name of Sakura Haruno. Naruto was convinced the council was out to screw him over after he found out. He had asked Hokage if it was possible to get the Hyuga heiress on his team, but when the Hokage took it to a council meeting, the council said that rules were rules. Now normally, Naruto would have been fine even with the Uchiha. Sure, he was an arrogant jerk with a worse superiority complex than his classmate Neji. But Naruto was sure he could knock some sense into the so-called genius if he really had to. No, what really made Naruto pissed was that according to Hinata, this Haruno girl was the worst kind of kunoichi out there, a fangirl. Groaning when he had heard this, he had asked to see the girl's stats from Iruka, who, when told that she was going to be his teammate, let him see the girl's records. Naruto was not impressed when he saw that she was only the top kunoichi due to her book smarts. However, Naruto was willing to give the girl a chance, and hopefully be able to get her out of her fangirl stage. Because besides oath breakers, the worst type of ninja in his book was someone who became one to chase after someone else. In Naruto's book, if you become one to prove yourself, fine. But do it to try and get a boy or girl, and you're a waste of the teacher's time and energy. While both Hinata and Naruto knew that they couldn't be on the same team, they agreed to get together as often as they could in between training and missions. Naruto told Hinata that if she ever needed help in her training to keep coming to him whenever he was in the village. With the graduation exam coming up, and being 2 members short of being able to take missions outside of the village, Naruto and Kakashi decided to give Hinata special training each day after the academy, getting her ready for the big day, which Hinata greatly appreciated, and by the end of the week she felt ready to take the test head-on. Day of graduation, Team 7's training grounds. The day was pretty much the same as the rest of the week had been for Naruto and Kakashi. One thing that was different was that Naruto had walked Hinata to the academy that morning. When the two reached the academy, Naruto had wished her luck and pecked her on the cheek. This made Hinata go into a heavy blush, since she was still amazed of Naruto at times. Seeing her blush made Naruto chuckle, and he sent her off with a quick goodbye and give them hell. This made Hinata break out of her blush and giggle a little before nodding and walking into the academy ready for whatever it would bring. Naruto had noticed Mizuki leaning against a wall when this happened, who happened to be grinning his head off while he watched. Naruto just cocked his eyebrow as if to ask what, causing Mizuki to burst out laughing. Rolling his eyes and shaking his head a little, Naruto had waved and headed out to meet with Kakashi at the training grounds. Which leads us to the present. Naruto and Kakashi were both panting while standing across from each other. Ever since the two had met up at the training grounds, they had been going at it with each other all morning, stopping only for a quick lunch before starting back up. While this in itself wasn't too unusual for them on some days when they would be working on taijutsu, today was almost pure ninjutsu, and the two had never gone on this long with just that form of combat. While the two hadn't used any killing moves, they had used so many justice per minute that anyone passing by would think that the Fourth Great Shinobi War was taking place. This was the scene that Hinata walked in on with a smile on her face, which quickly turned into a look of complete awe when she watched. Hinata's POV. I was walking from the academy to Naruto's training grounds feeling real good about myself. I had passed with flying colors in the graduation exam, and I couldn't wait to tell Naruto and Kakashi-sensei. When I got close, I could hear that the two were going at it with ninjutsu, but didn't really pay any mind to it, since I just figured they were keeping their skills up. That all changed when I walked in with a smile on my face, only for my eyes to open wide at what I saw. Naruto had just launched a huge water dragon at Kakashi-sensei, who quickly used a water wall to defend and immediately sent out water bullets to counter Naruto's attack. Naruto countered with an earth wall and, taking a page out of his sensei's book, sent earth bullets at his teacher, who countered with a lighting move that looked like a bunch of Saban needles shooting out. Think Sasuke's Chidori attack when fighting Deidara. While most of the needles were stopped when they collided with the earth bullets, a good number kept coming towards Naruto, who quickly used one of his wind justice to knock out the Jutsu. When Kakashi saw this, he took advantage of the wind by sending a fire Jutsu towards his student. Just as the fire reached him, Naruto summoned a water wall which the fire immediately made contact with, causing Naruto to be encased in a cloud of steam. All of this happened in about 15 seconds, and I was amazed at the speed that their hands were moving in the hand signs they were using. Normal POV. Naruto was using the steam cloud as a chance to catch his breath for a second. As it dissipated and he began ready to go at it again, he noticed Hinata standing at the entrance to the training grounds. Kakashi noticed where he was looking and saw Hinata as well. Naruto just looked at Hinata before asking what. Hinata shook herself out of her stupor and said, "Sorry, it's just that I've never seen anyone use justice that fast before." Kakashi chuckled and said, "Well, Hinata, if you thought that was fast, you should see Naruto when he gets serious." Hinata gasped and looked at Naruto, who had the decency to blush a little while scratching the back of his head while laughing a little. Don't listen to him, Hinata. I'm not that fast. Kakashi just chuckled but left it at that. Remembering why she came, Hinata told the two about how well she did in the exams, and the two told her that they never had a doubt how well she would do. Deciding to celebrate, the three took off to Ichiraku's Hidden Leaf Village Academy, day of team placement. It was the morning of the team placements, and Hinata couldn't help but sigh while she was sitting down, thinking about how it wasn't fair that she couldn't be on Naruto's team. At least she knew that her other teacher, Kurenai, would be her new sensei. She was always a mother figure for her after her mother had died. She sighed again as Sasuke's two biggest fangirls, Ino and Sakura, got to the door and were arguing about who would get to sit next to their Sasuke. Hard to believe that Sakura will be on his team instead of me. Though I bet she will be happy to know that her precious Sasuke will be on her team. Hinata thought to herself while putting her head on the desk waiting for Iruka to come in. It wasn't long before he did, and when he got everyone's attention, he started giving the speech he always gives his graduating class. Afterwards, he started listing the team placements. Everything was going good till he reached Team 7. Team 7 will consist of Sasuke Uchiha, said Imo looked up, and Sakura Haruno. Iruka said only to be interrupted by a yell from Sakura, something about true love prevailing. After getting a glare from not only Iruka but also most of the girls, she sat down and Iruka continued. Due to certain events, you two will be joining the members of last year's Team 7. Your sensei will be Kakashi Hatake, and your fellow genin will be Naruto Uzumaki. I suggest you two listen to both of them. At the name Naruto, the whole class started whispering while taking occasional glances at Hinata, who, getting a little nervous from all the attention, sunk down a little into her seat. Sasuke and Sakura were thinking to themselves that it was odd that they were joining a team that had been made last year and were wondering just what had happened to the other two members. Wonder why it's just these Naruto and Kakashi people, Sakura thought. Naruto and Kakashi, eh? Looks like I get to have some training with the guy after all. Sasuke thought, remembering what Iruka and Nezuki had said about Naruto a while ago when Hinata had wiped the floor with that fangirl. Iruka finished explaining the team formations and told them that they had 1 hour break before needing to be back in class to meet their new Jounin instructors. Hearing this, Hinata did a shushin out of the classroom, surprising the hell out of everyone else. When did she learn to do that? Iruka thought before remembering Naruto telling him about how Kakashi had taught him, Mato and Hiza how to do it, but that they only did it when they were in a hurry. Guess Naruto and Kakashi taught her more than just taijutsu, he thought with a chuckle while leaving the classroom. Outside of the classroom in a branch of a tree, Hinata watched the reactions of the class and smiled. Damn, that felt good, she thought to herself before jumping down to go find her two new teammates. By the way, in case you haven't noticed, Naruto's pranking side has rubbed on her a little. 1 hour later. After the hour was up, the class was all back in the classroom waiting for their new instructors. It was only a minute or two when the first one showed up, and boy were the class surprised. Instead of an adult walking in through the door like they expected, a blonde-haired boy with whiskers on his cheeks and the bluest eyes they have ever seen came in and went to the teacher's desk. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. Will Sasuke Uchiha and Sakura Haruno please come with me? While he said it politely enough, almost everyone heard the undertone that told them it wasn't a request. While the two students were getting up, the two had different thoughts. This is the one who trained the Hyuga? He don't look like much. Sasuke thought to himself, thinking that he could take him. Not in your lifetime, kid. He looks kind of cute. Oh, who am I kidding? He's hot. But not as much as Sasuke-kun. Sakura thought to herself while her and most of the girls noticed a very well-toned muscled body which spoke of years of training. While the two were stepping down to the level Naruto was at, he was looking around the rest of the classroom. Spotting Hinata, he gave her a small smile which she returned. When the two rookies got to him, he nodded to Hinata before leading his new charges out of the classroom and into the village, thinking to himself, this should be interesting. Hidden Leaf Village, en route to Memorial Stone. Naruto led his two new teammates out of the academy and started heading towards his training grounds, or more specifically, the Memorial Stone that is next to it. As they left the academy, Naruto decided that he should give the rookies a fair warning about what to expect about him and Kakashi. As they passed the gate, he started talking, gaining the two's attention. Alright guys, since we're going to be a team now, there are a few things you should know about me and Kakashi-sensei. First and foremost, if we tell you to do something, you do it. We won't be trying to make you go through any sick initiation rites or anything like that. We personally find them a waste of time. That being said, if we tell you to do 50 jumping jacks while singing the alphabet, we expect you to do exactly that. Both rookies looked at like he was crazy, but Naruto ignored them. Second, and you will have to forgive us for this, but we are still recovering a little bit about what happened to our team. Sakura took this as a chance to ask what had been on her mind when she heard that they were joining an older team. Naruto, I've been wondering. What happened to make your team lose 2 teammates? Naruto got a hard look on his face before continuing bad intel. Now don't interrupt me. As I was saying, Kakashi and I are still handling it, so you will have to deal with a few perks. While I've been able to cope a lot better, Kakashi has taken to short periods of brooding, though not often. One other thing, Kakashi will probably be an hour late at most meetings, and before you ask, it's because he is remembering things. Me and my teammates had gotten him out of that in the past year, but with what happened 2 weeks ago, he's slipped back into it, although fortunately it's not as bad as before. I'm still working on getting him out. But know this, once he gets his head on straight, he is one hell of a teacher, and he does not take upstarts lightly. At this he glances at Sasuke and continues, neither him nor I care for names. You earn your place with us. Don't expect us to baby you either. You better know right here and right now that I will make your life a living hell if you don't pull your own weight. Sasuke just scoffed at this, thinking that there was no way Naruto could pull through with that threat, while Sakura was starting to get nervous. That said, he continued, if you do what we tell you, I guarantee that you will come out a lot better than you came in. After that he grew silent, while they kept walking to their destination. I know it is a big change in attitude for Naruto, but remember that he just lost his 2 best friends as teammates, and really doesn't like Sasuke's I'm better than you attitude. Meanwhile, Kakashi was at the memorial stone thinking about how he had lost his own team, and now almost lost 2 of his students in a similar fashion. I promise Obito, I will do my best to keep your nephew safe, and I won't let anything happen to your son either, sensei, he thought to himself while also promising himself to do the best he can for his students. Suddenly he sensed a presence that he has grown to care for, like that of an uncle to a favorite nephew. Naruto was here. The genin and 2 genin hopefuls came to the training ground of Team 7 to see Kakashi kneeling down next to a memorial stone of some sort. Even though he knew his teacher knew they were there, Naruto spoke up. Kakashi-sensei, I brought our new teammates. Kakashi just gave a slight nod showing he heard and took a few moments to collect his thoughts. Standing up and then turning around, he gave a quick eye smile to Naruto, who returned it, and then looked at his new charges. My first impression of you two, you got a rude awakening ahead of you. The 2 hopefuls looked startled and Sasuke immediately got angry. And what's that supposed to mean? He asked with an edge in his voice. He immediately regretted asking when Naruto swept his legs. Looking up, he saw Naruto looking down at him with a frown. It means that you have a long way to go, Uchiha, and I would watch what you say around us. Sakura watched with a frown, thinking that Naruto was being a little rough, but put it down to missing his former teammates. Kakashi just sighed and helped Sasuke up before turning to Naruto and said, I'll take him. To which Naruto just nodded and put a hand on Sakura's shoulder. Before she or Sasuke could ask about what they were doing, the 2 shined their new charges out of the area. Rooftop of the academy. We're back at the academy. Sakura noticed when the smoke cleared. Kakashi and Naruto walked past her, and Naruto hopped over the back of a bench that was there and sat on the end while Kakashi walked around and leaned against the rail facing him. Boy, this brings back memories, Naruto said softly, to which Kakashi nodded. Then when they both realized the 2 hadn't followed, Kakashi asked, well, aren't you going to join us? Both hopefuls started and came to sit next to Naruto, with Sakura in the middle and Sasuke on the end. All right, you 3, let's introduce and talk a little about ourselves so that we know a little bit about each other, Kakashi said once they were all seated. What do you mean, sensei? Sakura asked while Naruto slightly rolled his eyes. How thick can you get? I can't believe she was the top ranked in book smarts. You know, your likes, dislikes, dreams, and hobbies. Stuff like that, Kakashi said. Why don't you go first so that we get an idea? Sakura said. Kakashi and Naruto shared a look at how ironic what Sakura and Hiza had said were. Both thought the same thing. At least Hiza just wanted me/sensei to go first to get to know me/him. I know. It is always the girl, isn't it? But trust me, that is as far as the similarities between her and Hiza go. Oh man, sensei just gave it to her as plain and simple as possible, and she still doesn't know? How did this girl ever survive the academy? Naruto thought to himself. Kakashi had similar thoughts but decided to play along. Very well. My name is Hatake Kakashi. I'm the kind of person who doesn't feel like talking about his likes and dislikes. My dreams for the future are none of your business, but anyway, I have lots of hobbies. Sasuke and Sakura both sweat dropped while Naruto burst out laughing. He said so much, but we only learned his name, the 2 thought. Naruto had a much different thought. I so should have seen that coming. Never let it be said that Kakashi-sensei has no humor. Kakashi, having a good idea about what Naruto was thinking, chuckled as well, while the other two were wondering just what kind of team they were in. Sakura finally couldn't take it anymore and asked "What's so funny?" The two older guys stopped laughing and Naruto said inside joke. And left it at that. Alright, now that I've gone, it's your turn. Why don't you start, Pinky? Kakashi said, which earned a glare from said pink-haired girl. Alright, my name is Sakura Haruno. I like, glances at Sasuke with a blush. I dislike Ino. My hobby is, again looks at emo kid, this time with a blush. My dream, again looks at duck butt and lets out a small squeal. Great, she's worse than I thought. Naruto thought, while Kakashi thought along the same line. Looks like Naruto wasn't kidding when he said we had a lot of work to do on this one. You with the duck butt hairdo. Kakashi said, pointing to the Uchiha, which earned him a glare from said emo and a chuckle from Naruto. And before you guys say anything, yes, I am being cruel to him, but in truth I can sometimes picture a story where he and Naruto are best buds and even brothers in all but blood. It just depends on the story. My name is Sasuke Uchiha. There are plenty of things I hate, but I don't see that it matters, considering there is almost nothing I do like. It seems pointless to talk about dreams, that's just a word, but what I do have is determination. I plan to restore my clan. And there's someone I have sworn to kill. He is so cool. Sakura thought, looking at him. Kakashi and Naruto just shared a look before Naruto said under his breath, "Idiot." Unfortunately, everyone heard him and Sakura got mad and tried hitting Naruto on his head, only to have him grab her wrist even before she raised it all the way. What really shocked the two hopefuls though was that he did it without ever breaking eye contact with his teacher. Sasuke was shocked, thinking that if he could do that without looking, then what else could he do? But soon his pride took over, and he said in a dangerous tone of voice, "Care to repeat that, Uzumaki?" Said blonde just sighed. I said you are an idiot. When the Uchiha continued to glare at him, he continued. I know that you lost your clan and that you are in pain and angry at the one who did it. But having nothing but hate gets you nowhere. I will respect your wish to get justice for what has happened, but if you can't find something to protect in the meantime, then you are only limiting yourself. Sasuke couldn't take it anymore. Grabbing Naruto's collar, he jerked the blonde across the front of Sakura and got right in his face. What would you know of my loss? You lost two teammates who, I might add, are still alive. What do you know about losing your whole clan? Or about the pain of being alone? Huh! Answer me. Sakura was shocked at the outburst and starting to get scared, while Kakashi had one thought. Now he's done it. Naruto looked into the last Uchiha's eyes and gently but firmly removed the heir's hand from his collar, and with a calm voice that made even Kakashi shudder said, I know what pain is, Uchiha. I have grown up without knowing either of my parents. Know who they are, yes. But getting to know them, no. You at least had your family for a while before they got taken from you. As for being alone? For most of my life no one in this village would ever give a damn about me. Most of the villagers had hated me and some even tried to kill me once. So believe me, I know what pain feels like, but I did not submit to it, and you have no right to throw a pity party about it. You have always been adored and given attention. And yet you claim to be alone? Don't make me laugh. Naruto calmly sat back down while Sakura and Sasuke were in shock. Sakura because of how her new teammate was apparently treated at one time in the past, and Sasuke due to what the blonde had said about not ever knowing his parents. Kakashi sighed and decided to get his team's mind off of these dark thoughts and steered them toward clearer skies. Well, now that we have that out of our systems, it's time to talk about the test you two must take. And Naruto, you will be taking it as well. I know you passed before, but this is a new team, so you have to take it again. Naruto nodded at this, since he figured he would have to do it again when he picked the two up from the academy. Sakura looked to their teacher with a confused look on her face. Test sensei? While Kakashi nodded, it was Naruto who answered, he's talking about the test to see if you will be genin or not. Sakura was shocked. But we already took one at the academy. I thought that was the test. Naruto shook his head and explained to the two how the academy test was just to see if they had what it took to be genin, and that this test saw if they were actually ready for it, or if they should be sent back to the academy for another year to learn what they had missed the first time. Kakashi then told them to be at the training grounds they were at before at 7 a.m., and then dismissed them. Sasuke and Sakura left right away, with Sakura tried getting a date out of the last Uchiha without success. The two veterans just sighed while watching them leave, and Kakashi turned to Naruto. How you holding up, Naruto? He asked his younger companion. Naruto just sighed and said Mato and Hiza, those two are not sensei. They seem to be more trouble than they are worth. The Uchiha has superiority issues while Haruno seems to be way too interested in him to actually concern herself with training. To be honest, I don't even know if I could work with them tomorrow for the test. Although knowing the council, they will probably give us hell if we don't at least pass the Uchiha. Kakashi sighed at that. I'm afraid you're right, Naruto. Especially about the council, I'm afraid. Just try and do your best, and we'll try to get them in the best shape we can afterwards. Make sure you get a good night's sleep tonight. Something tells me we're going to need it. Naruto nodded and the two went their separate ways to prepare themselves for the next day. Hidden Leaf Village, Naruto's apartment. Naruto was currently asleep in his bed. Or at least that is what anyone who was watching him would see. But in truth, he was having a talk with his father while the two were training together. Naruto's Mindscape. Naruto and the Kyuubi were having a mainly ninja-sparing match much like the one Naruto and Kakashi had that day. The two were mainly using fire and wind-style justice while also using a couple of taijutsu moves if the two ever got close enough a couple of times. The main difference was whereas with Naruto and Kakashi their hands were a blur, the two fighting now were moving their hands so fast that even the longest chains of sequences only took a second or two. All the while the two were talking about the test that Kakashi was obligated to give and all the problems involved with it. You know, that council really pisses me off. I just know that they are putting that stuck-up prick on our team just to spite me. And they expect me to work well with the brat and help him pass as well? That's like asking me to jump straight to the moon, Naruto said while launching a large fireball at his adopted father who expertly jumped over it and sent a wind blast at his son while making sure none of it touched the fireball passing under him. When the wind got close enough, Naruto manipulated it into a tornado and sent it right back at the big guy. I know how you feel, son, but we are just going to have to find a way to get him and that pathetic excuse for a kunoichi to pass. The good news is that at least that girl might have a chance at being reached and brought to a more suitable level. Though I stress might. As he was saying this, the tornado came right at him, and he started to spin. When he came out of it, he had spin-kicked the tornado, sending it off to the side where it started to fluctuate before completely bursting, sending wind everywhere. Naruto shook his head when he saw that, and said, I can't wait for you to show me how you do that, father. Said Fox just grinned and said, in time, my son? Before launching a fireball himself at the blonde who to his small amount of surprise saw his son create another tornado around him that turned into a fiery vortex when the fireball hit it. The fox got a proud grin as he watched his son maintain the funnel without it touching him, and he started building its power up. Then with a motion of his arm, the blonde gestured to the fox, and the funnel bent, and rushed. The fox turned human. The fox just stood there, and then absorbed the fire into his body. Hey, no fair, Naruto said playfully. His father just laughed, and said, you're just jealous. You got that right, Naruto said with a grin, before they decided to call it quits for the night. Naruto sighed, we still have no idea what to do about the test tomorrow. I mean, Kakashi told us it would be the same test as before, but how the hell am I going to get the Uchiha to listen to me? I can't even do the same thing I did last time since I'm sure Kakashi won't have that book with him, so I can't blackmail the guy to make it easier on all four of us. The Kyuubi nodded before saying maybe you should knock the kid out and fight with a shadow clone transformed to look like him. Naruto considered it for a moment before sighing and shaking his head. No good, that would just make it even harder to work with the guy when we do pass. And I doubt his fangirl would appreciate it either. The fox sighed knowing his son was right, and just said that they would have to figure something out in the morning, and bade his son good night. After returning the gesture, his son left the mindscape and truly went to sleep. The next day, Training Ground 7. Naruto woke up at 6 the next morning and got ready. Half an hour later, he was out of the door heading to the training ground at a reasonably fast pace across the rooftops. While he knew that Kakashi might be at least a little late, he knew it would still be a good idea to get there a little early. At the very least, he could set a few traps up. He got there 10 minutes early and created 10 shadow clones. Nodding to the original, the group began unsealing shuriken and kunai launchers that Naruto had built himself with the help of his former classmate Ten. They made sure that the launchers they used were chakra-triggered instead of trip-wire-triggered since they were not sure how good the two rookies were around traps, if at all. Approximately 5 minutes later, everything was set up and the clones dispersed themselves, giving the original the memories of where the traps were placed. Just as this happened, Sakura and Sasuke entered the training grounds with Sakura once again asking Sasuke for a date, and getting the usual response from the emo kid. When the two looked to the training grounds, they saw Naruto and headed over to him. Naruto was currently drawing on a copy of a map of the area he had made after the first bell test to help when he, Mato, and Hiza would play war games with Kakashi. Right at the moment he was marking where all the clones had set up traps, thinking that he could try and get Kakashi boxed in close to one of them with help from the other two, although he personally wasn't holding his breath. As the two approached him, Sakura suddenly remembered something. Naruto?" said Blonde, looked up from what he was doing, and Sakura took this as an invitation to continue. "I just remembered something, Kakashi-sensei, Sasuke-kun." Naruto's got an irritated look for a quick moment at the word kun, "and I had talked about ourselves yesterday, but we never did hear about you. Yes, I will admit I forgot him, but now that I think about it, this actually works good for the story." Naruto just looked at her for a moment before realizing that was the truth. "Very well," he said. "As you know, my name is Naruto Uzumaki. I like reading, and playing the occasional prank, though I don't do it as often nowadays." Both raised their eyebrows at that. "I swear, it's a recurring theme with these guys. I also like hanging out with my friends and the occasional meal of ramen. I dislike bullies and those who think they are better than others just because of who their parents were." A pointed look at Sasuke. "I also dislike those who become ninja just to impress someone." This time a pointed look at Sakura. Sakura was starting to get edgy while Sasuke was starting to get mad. "And I really hate traitors and oath breakers, as well as those who make assumptions without getting all the facts. As for hobbies, I like to learn how to play different instruments." Another eyebrow raised by the two. "I am a semi-amateur gardener, and like learning new justice. As for dreams, I want to make my parents proud of who I am and become Hokage." Sasuke snorted and Naruto raised an eyebrow at him. "How can someone like you be Hokage?" Sasuke asked. Naruto just shook his head and said, "That is what I hate about Uchihas and most Hyugas. You all make assumptions without all the facts." He left it at that when Sasuke got angry and tried to get in a fight again. But Naruto just unsealed the guitar to the surprise of the other two and started playing Cliffs of Dover by Eric Johnson. In a branch nearby, Kakashi listened with a nice smile. He had of course seen what Naruto's clones had done, and he approved of the choice to use chakra-tripped launchers instead of tripped wired ones. He had also seen Naruto draw on a copy of the map he had made of the area and knew that he was going to share the info on the traps with the two hopefuls once the test started. He also had a feeling that Naruto knew he was there, but he just sat there listening to the music since it wasn't very often he actually heard Naruto play. And besides, he was just as good on a guitar as a violin or a Native American flute. When the song ended, he shooshined to a spot directly behind the hopefuls, making them jump. Naruto of course knew his sensei was there ever since he himself had came to the training grounds, which surprised him, but he figured Kakashi just wanted to see how he and the other two would interact while they waited. Deciding to play along, he had kept the fact that he could sense his sensei nearby a secret, although he did make sure not to set up any traps where his teacher was. Didn't want Kakashi getting any ideas about messing with them after all. So it was no surprise to him when his sensei appeared right between the two who he had been forced against his better judgment to help pass what was to come today. He secretly enjoyed seeing the other two jump while looking at Kakashi with an even look before deciding to have some fun and adapted a look of surprise. "Kakashi-sensei, you're actually on time. Is it going to snow today?" Naruto asked, getting weird looks from Sasuke and Sakura, while Kakashi, who knew exactly what his favorite student was doing, decided to play along. "Why yes, didn't you get the weather forecast? There is going to be a huge blizzard in a couple of hours." Naruto just grinned and said, "Well then, I guess we should hurry and get started then." The other two realized that they were having a fast one pulled over them and started getting mad when the other two burst out laughing at the looks on their faces. When the two got serious, Kakashi told them about the test with the bells, which Sakura had immediately pointed out there were only 2 bells but 3 of them. "Very good, Sakura. You obviously had no trouble in math class. The reason why there are only 2 bells is that the one who doesn't get a bell by noon goes back to the academy. Not only that, but you will be tied to one of those poles over there and watch while I eat my lunch. Oh, and Naruto, I didn't bring my book, so don't even think about pulling that stunt again to pass." Sakura was angry at the first sentence, but she and Sasuke both got worried looks at the second sentence, which quickly turned to confusion when they heard the final sentence. Turning to Naruto, they saw him grin while he looked like he was remembering a particularly funny memory. Finally, Sakura let her curiosity get to her and asked, "Naruto? What is Kakashi-sensei talking about?" Naruto burst out laughing, much to the chagrin of the Cyclops in the group, and just said, "Well, let's just say last time I showed my appreciation for a book series he likes to read and leave it at that." That only served to get them even more curious, but neither of the veterans, would explain further. "All right then, now that you know what this test entails, it's time to begin. Oh, and one more thing, Naruto, try to limit yourself to low Chunin levels." At this, the other two looked at Naruto, who just nodded while the two shared a thought. "Limit? Now then, you may begin, now." Kakashi said, and instantly shined from the area, and Naruto immediately noticed that he had completely masked his presence like only someone of a Jounin level or higher could do. Frowning a little bit, Naruto gestured to the two hopefuls and led them to the closest cluster of launcher traps which were set up to cover the 4 main compass points. Once they sat down, Sasuke immediately asked Naruto, "What are we doing here, Dobe? Why are you wasting my time when I should be getting one of those bells?" Naruto raised his eyebrow at the word Dobe but let it slide, thinking that Sasuke was in denial about what Kakashi had said about limiting himself to low Chunin levels. Shaking his head, he simply said, "And you are Rookie of the Year, why?" Sasuke got mad, but before he could say anything, Naruto continued, "Kakashi-sensei is a Jounin, and one of the best in this village at that. What makes you think that you, who I might add are not even a proper genin yet, can take him on by himself? I've been with him for almost a full year now, and I know almost exactly what that guy can do, and let me tell you, he could wipe the deck with you in less than 10 seconds. Sasuke got even madder and said, "Oh yeah? And you think you have a better chance? Oh, if only he saw the two go at it on the day of graduation." Naruto just chuckled and said, "Maybe. Now do you want my help or not?" "Not," Sasuke said and left. Sakura looked torn between following him and sticking with Naruto, who just shook his while thinking how stupid it was to let pride get in the way of a mission. Sakura decided to ask Naruto what he had in mind, and Naruto explained how he had led their teacher into a corridor minefield the first time, and how he hoped to do the same with traps he had set, showing her where they were marked on the map, but told her he wanted to see how the Uchiha did before they did anything. With that said, he rolled up the map and sent a shadow clone henge to look like a small fox to follow Sasuke and see just how bad he was humiliated. Kakashi, who had seen the whole thing from a branch, once again knew that his blonde student most likely knew they were being observed and realized that the blonde had indirectly asked him to show Sasuke he wasn't as good as he thought he was. Taking off in the direction Sasuke went in a roundabout way, he thought to himself, if only he had seen Naruto and me sparring 2 days ago, he would definitely have a different opinion. But Naruto really isn't one to show off to others just to prove a point. I'll let your imaginations come up with for what happens next. Once the shadow clone had dispelled itself, Naruto just sighed and shook his head in a dejected manner. When Sakura asked what was wrong, he just got up and told her to follow him. They walked at a relatively slow pace for about 10 minutes until they came upon a small clearing. Walking in, they saw Sasuke buried up to the top of his neck in the ground and looking royally pissed off about something. While Sakura looked shocked at him, Naruto just slowly shook his head and walked towards him. Kneeling down, he asked, "You going to listen to me now, or should I just leave you here?" Sasuke just glared at him even more. Naruto just sighed and said, "Come on, Sakura, let's go." Sakura looked shocked. "We're just going to leave him there?" Naruto once more sighed and said, "If he's not going to help, then he is not worth digging out. Maybe while he is doing it himself he will realize that the only way we can get the bells is together." With that, he took off into the forest again, using his nose much the same way he did in the previous test to start looking for his sensei. While it is true he could have done this in the beginning, he had decided to try and get the other two to work as a team together first. Sakura didn't seem to have a problem listening to someone with more experience than her, but Sasuke was just too proud and stubborn. Taking a page from his student's book, Kakashi had left a shadow clone to see what happened when Naruto and Sakura showed up. When it had dispelled itself, Kakashi just shook his head. Sakura wasn't as much of a lost cause as the two vets had thought, but the fact that he had so soundly beat the Uchiha, and he still wouldn't accept help, frustrated the two to no ends. If this keeps up, we're going to have to all-out fail him. I hope Naruto sealed a ton of aspirin this morning, because we are going to need it when the council learns we didn't pass him. Like the last time, he quickly realized how Naruto was tracking him and decided to save them both time by heading towards one of the traps he had saw Naruto mark down on his map. He wanted to see how Sakura would handle working with Naruto when under fire. Naruto smelled Kakashi heading to one of the traps and was grateful that his sensei had decided to spare them the charade, since while last time this had been a proving ground, this time when it came to Naruto's tracking skills, it was just redundant. Leading Sakura, he got into position and made sure she knew what to do. When he was sure she did, he triggered the trap, launching a ton of kunai at Kakashi. As soon as Kakashi was done dodging, he went at him with Sakura at his side and started a taijutsu match with Kakashi and him, both keeping their fight down to low levels to give Sakura a chance. "I'll give her this, she's determined not to lose," Kakashi thought as he dodged a badly thrown punch from the pink-haired girl. "Though she really needs to work on her taijutsu." All of a sudden, Naruto widened his eyes and jumped back, turning in the process to be facing the same direction as Kakashi was, and used the same tornado jutsu he had used during his and his father's spar just as a fireball shot by overhead. Catching the fireball and turning it into a vortex, he looked forward to see Sasuke's surprised face while the vortex continued spinning around him. Sakura was surprised as well while the two vets were just disappointed. Naruto then stopped the wind in the vortex, and using the heat it had generated then caused a few clouds to form with highly condensed moisture, and using his water manipulation caused it to rain to finish extinguishing the flames around him. Both hopefuls grew even more shocked when he did this while Kakashi had one thought to himself. Show off. Though if that didn't get Sasuke's attention, nothing will. Naruto glared at the Uchiha and said in a dangerous tone of voice. Sasuke, while using us as a diversion might be considered teamwork, it is only so when planned and especially not when you shoot a fireball right over our heads. Do something like that again and I'll make certain you end up in the hospital. Sasuke scoffed at but before he could say anything, the timer rang and the test was over. 5 minutes later, the four of them were in the main clearing of the training grounds. Naruto and Kakashi were standing with their arms crossed and looking at the last Uchiha who they had no qualms of tying to the middle post in the clearing. Both shared the same thought: what the hell are we going to do with this guy? Sakura was currently standing off to the side while looking down a little bit. While she was upset about how Sasuke was being treated, she was still amazed at what Naruto had just done. I can't believe he did that. Not only did he catch that fireball with a tornado, but he also made a small rain cloud to drench the flame. Kakashi started shaking his head. Sasuke, Sasuke, Sasuke. What on earth are we going to do with you? You are the only one who did not realize the true purpose of the test, and not only that, you put your teammates in possible danger while you were at it. Sasuke just glared at him and Naruto. Kakashi sighed and said to the three, right, well Naruto and Sakura, go ahead and have your lunch, but make sure not to give any to Sasuke. We will try this again in 15 minutes. But if you can't work as a team then I'm afraid Sasuke will have to go back to the academy. With that, he grabbed a lunch and shoe-shined out of the way. Naruto once again could sense that his teacher had just gone to the edge of the woods to see how they would interact and realized that he wanted him to try and get Sasuke to understand before the test started again. Sighing to himself at how hopeless that particular task seemed but remembering his words about the council last night, he grabbed a lunch and sat down next to the tied-up Uchiha. Sakura looked uncertain but soon followed. Opening his lunch, he took a look at Sasuke and for what seemed the 100th time shook his head. Now do you see why I asked you to work together with us, Sasuke? Said Emo just looked at the blonde speaking and said, why should I listen to you, dope? Naruto raised an eyebrow and said, who is the dope really, Uchiha? Cause from where I'm sitting, the only one who is dead last in this test is the one who is currently tied to a post without a lunch. Sasuke growled but before he could say anything, Naruto continued. You are going to learn eventually that you are going to have to work with others sometimes. No one can ever truly be a one-man army. Not even me with my shadow clones. Even if I had 1,000 clones out, I'm sure I would miss something someone else would have no trouble spotting. Please Sasuke, just this once, let me help. Sasuke kept glaring at him for a minute. Finally turning his head he said one word. Fine. Kakashi popped in and said, glad you two finally came to an agreement. Sakura and Sasuke, you two pass. Kakashi untied Sasuke and turned to talk to all now 3 official genins. Alright, now that Team 7 is official again, Sasuke and Sakura, be here at 8 every morning unless I say so. Naruto, I would like you to do the same thing for Mato and Hiza if you don't mind. Naruto didn't look too happy at that but nodded anyway. What do you mean, sensei? Sakura asked, noticing the look Naruto got. He means I will be the one doing most of the teaching in the morning before we all meet up for missions. Naruto replied. Sakura had no problems with this since Naruto obviously knew what he was doing. Sasuke, however, was furious at the thought of being taught by someone who was only a year older than him. But he kept his mouth shut since he didn't want to ruin what he had just got. With that, the team split off for the rest of the day. Hokage's office. All of the Jounin who had agreed to take a genin team were in the Hokage's office waiting for Kakashi to show up before they got started. With a pop and a small bit of smoke, Kakashi appeared in front of the Hokage's desk. Raising a hand and saying yo in greeting, he went over to a wall and leaned against it. The Hokage nodded to him before beginning. Now that everyone is here, let's begin. How did the new teams do? Teams 1 through 6 all failed, with the hopefuls either being downright hopeless, just needing a little more time at the academy, or just simply quitting being a ninja altogether. When it came to Team 7, everyone looked at Kakashi, wonder how his mixed match team had done on the first day. Sighing, Kakashi said Team 7 passed barely. The rest of the group were surprised when they heard this. They all knew about how good Naruto was and couldn't figure out why a team with him on it would almost fail, especially when that team had the top 2 rookies on it as well. The Hokage was curious as well and said, Kakashi, if I may ask, Why did a team which should have been one of the best teams made this year almost fail? Kakashi sighed and explained what happened between Naruto and the rookies. Sir, things did not go very smoothly between Naruto and the rookies. The Uchiha has a superiority complex while the Haruno seems to be more interested in chasing the Uchiha than being a ninja. While Naruto was able to get her to work with him, Uchiha kept butting heads with him numerous times. It took me and Naruto tying him to a post to even consider working together. And even then he barely gave in. That boy is just too prideful for his own good. The other Jounins listened and were surprised to hear that Naruto had such a hard time. Normally he could win anyone over. They knew this because most of the Jounins with teams decided to have a series of small war games, and Naruto was always chosen as the leader of his team. Sarutobi sighed and said by the sound of things, Naruto should be able to help Sakura with her problem, but the Uchiha might be a bit of a problem. We will just have to hope that he can get Sasuke's head on straight. Now then, what about the rest of the teams? The other two teams had also managed to pass, although it seemed they did a lot better. Once everyone was finished, Sarutobi thanked and then dismissed them. When they were gone, he sighed as he leaned back in his chair while looking out at the village. Taking a drag from his pipe, he thought to himself, Naruto, I'm sure you will be able to get through this. Hidden Leaf Village, en route to the Hokage's office, directly after bell test. Naruto was angry. Actually, angry didn't cover it, he was downright pissed. Sakura he could see doing his best to help out with training. Sasuke was another matter entirely. It wasn't just the fact that he had that superior attitude that Naruto knew had no right being there. It was the pride as well. Sasuke, in Naruto's opinion, would always try to prove that he was better than him. For Naruto, the problem with that was not his own ego telling him to beat down some upstart that threatened him. No, what really made Naruto mad at the Uchiha's attitude that made him want to beat the kid to the ground right now was the fact that that kind of thinking got people killed on missions. He was going to the Hokage to explain this to him, and he was hoping to get his approval to use any means necessary to get the kid's head on straight. Because if he didn't give the so-called genius a much-needed wake-up call in the safety of the village, it would happen outside on a mission and the poor fool might not survive. He and his father were currently discussing ways to get the kid to wake up, but they realized that anything too serious would get the council mad at them even with the Hokage's approval. Unfortunately, it seemed to them that they would end up needing to do some pretty drastic things to get the kid to wake up. And even though father and son agreed most of the members of the council could go straight to hell, it did not change the fact that although they were a pain in the rear, the blonde had to listen to them, hence his pissed-off state. Hokage's office. Sarutobi was sitting at his desk looking out the window. The Jounins had finished their reports on the genin test, and had all been dismissed 5 minutes ago. Kakashi had been one of the last ones out, and had told the Hokage that Naruto might be swinging by later to give his opinion about the test as well. Sarutobi knew that would most definitely be the case. Naruto was a good ninja, and liked to solve his own problems, but he would sometimes come to his former teachers or him for advice if he ever needed help. And Sarutobi knew that Naruto would definitely need help dealing with the Uchiha since the council seemed to adore the last loyal Sharingan user. Especially since Naruto made it clear numerous times that he did not like people who let pride or those with well-known last names get to their heads. Sarutobi was sure that the next few months at least would really put his favorite blonde ninja to the test. Just as he was thinking about this, there was a knocking at his door. He wasn't surprised when said blonde came in when invited, and leaned forward as Naruto took a seat. Gesturing for him to speak, said blonde sighed and decided to not beat around the bush with his leader and grandfather figure. Hokage-sama, I'm afraid I'm going to need your help with something. My two teammates leave a lot of things wanting. Sakura Haruno, although seems more interested in chasing our teammate than becoming a good ninja, has at least shown signs she can be helped. That I can handle on my own. What I really need your help on is dealing with the other new member of Team 7. Naruto paused to gather his thoughts. Even though he and the Hokage were close, he knew this was a delicate matter and so chose his next words carefully. I can clearly see that Sasuke Uchiha and I will constantly be at odds with each other. He has allowed the village's worship of his clan get to his head, and has proven multiple times during the test that he will not or cannot work as a team player. The reason he has done this is that, as he himself has stated, he strongly believes that he is superior to everyone else and does not need help. I have tried multiple times reaching out to him, but failed all but once. The second to last time, Sasuke actually put not only me and Kakashi-sensei in danger but his classmate as well. The only reason he even agreed to work with us last time was because we threatened to send him back to the academy, which if the council was not so interested in him, I would have done anyway. The boy needs a wake-up call, sir. And I'm afraid only a rather rude one will have any effect whatsoever. However, like I said, the council has interest in him. Therefore I need your approval for me to do what I feel is necessary to open his eyes. Because if it is not done in the safety of the village walls, but outside during a mission, I cannot guarantee that the Uchiha will survive. The Hokage listened with his full attention and knew that Naruto was serious about this 110%. He agreed completely with him, especially about how the council was interested in the Uchiha, and what that implied. Nodding his head when Naruto had finished, Sarutobi said, "I have heard your case, Naruto, and I agree to it. Do what you feel is necessary to set Sasuke Uchiha on the right track. I will do my best to keep the council off your back while you take care of this problem. Just make sure not to kill him." They both chuckled a little at that. Naruto then thanked the Hokage and left the room. Unknown to the other, both had the same thought as he closed the door. This is going to be interesting. Team 7 training grounds the next day. Just as the day previous, the two rooks came to the training grounds 5 minutes early. What they came across astounded them. Naruto was sitting in a meditative position doing breathing exercises. This was not what shocked them though. What did was the fact that he was currently 3 feet of the ground and they could clearly see the wind forming a small funnel that was no bigger or smaller than Naruto himself. Sakura thought to herself, "I've never seen such perfect chakra control before. I wonder how someone only a year older than us got that good." Sasuke just thought that he was doing it to show off. Sensing their presence, Naruto opened his eyes and dropped the miniature tornado underneath him, landing lightly on his feet with his knees slightly bent. "Glad to see both of you have a good sense of time," he said, and then continued. "Today is going to be mostly about figuring out where you stand. After that, we will deal accordingly. We will skip taijutsu since I have seen you both in action. So let's start first with ninjutsu. After that, we will cover genjutsu. Then come weapon usage and finally chakra control. Once all that is done, I will figure out what our main focus will be on, and how we can improve those areas that need it. Any questions?" Sakura decided to ask a question. Naruto? I know it's not related, but how did you get such good chakra control?" Naruto just chuckled and started rubbing the back of his neck. "Shadow clones," he replied, to which Sakura and Sasuke got a confused look. Naruto explained how he had too much chakra to do the regular clone jutsu properly without overloading it. He then told of how when they were going over the jutsu at the academy, how Mizuki and Iruka decided to teach him shadow clones instead, and how the clones would transfer memories including progress on chakra control back to the original once dispelled. He also explained how he had used this information to get where he was today. Sakura was still confused though. "But Naruto, from what you said, you have gained years of knowledge. How could you do that with only 1 or 2 clones at a time?" Naruto got a fox grin and formed his favorite hand sign. "Mass Shadow Clone Jutsu," he called, and right after, a fog surrounded them. When it cleared, there was a sea of blonde surrounding them. Seeing the shocked faces of the two rooks, Naruto dispelled the clones and explained how he had enough chakra maintain that number for a full day at least. Sakura and Sasuke were shocked that someone Naruto's age could have so much chakra to use. After that, Naruto decided to get things started. They started with ninjutsu. Naruto was not surprised to see that Sasuke only knew fire styles. It was what the Uchihas were known for after all. Sakura unfortunately only had the 3 academy justice, but Naruto knew that even those came in handy to have. After the demonstration, Naruto gave both of them a chakra card and explained how it worked. He gave one to Sasuke to see if he had more than just fire for his nature, and Sakura one to find out what hers was. It turns out Sasuke had a small affinity for lighting as well as fire, which led Naruto to believe that he had the possibility of being like Kakashi. Sakura turned out to have not only water as a primary, but earth as well. Naruto was extremely pleased with this since because he had primarily wind, between the 3 they had all 5 elements. He knew that little tidbit would come in handy at some point or another. Moving on to genjutsu, he led them over to Kurenai's training field and asked her to perform a test for him, which she agreed to do. It turned out Sakura was a lot better at detecting and breaking genjutsu than Sasuke was. When they got back to their own training grounds, he tested them on weapons. He had them perform not only stationary tests, but moving tests as well. He would throw a shuriken or kunai across the field and the two would have to hit them with their own. Sasuke did better at this, although Sakura was not far behind. After that, they came to Naruto's final and favorite test, chakra control. He showed them the kunai balancing technique and had them balance as many kunai on their fingers as possible. Sakura again did the best by balancing kunai on each of her fingers, while Sasuke could only manage 7, and that was only for about 10 seconds at most. Needless to say, he wasn't very happy with that fact. After the testing was done, Naruto had the two work on their stamina since both were lacking in that department. Sasuke resented being told to do push-ups and squats, especially when Naruto told him he was physically the weakest in his class, but did it when Naruto proved his point by arm wrestling him when he had his weight set to 25%. In case you forgot, that makes it 250 pounds for each limb. Even with so much weight on his body, Naruto still soundly beat Sasuke. Naruto joined them, but went at a much faster pace than the two and doing at least twice as many as they were doing. It was to this scene that Kakashi came upon at noon when he came to the training grounds.